A heavy sigh escapes him. His face streaked with dirt and blood. The sound of his labored breathing echoing in the quiet. His electric blue eyes reflecting a deep exhaustion. The ragged breaths continue. A testament to the ordeal he has just endured. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the silence, calling out to him. As a young woman looks up at Li Jian, who still struggles for air. She admonishes him, reminding him of a crucial rule. I told you, didn't I? Don't go into space when you're with others. Holding a refreshing drink, she waits for his response. Li Jian is absolutely plummeting through the sky, a raw, pained gasp tearing from his throat as the wind screams past him. Way down below, a whole squad of soldiers, locked and loaded in their tactical gear, are staring straight up, their eyes glued to the chaos raining down from the sky. Blood absolutely gushing down his face, Li Jian is still free-falling, the sheer brutality of what he's been through etched onto his every feature. And he's not even alone. Other shadowy figures are crashing down right beside him, a terrifying parade against the endless blue. The whole group is rocketing towards a barren, desolate wasteland, the ground screaming up at them with insane velocity. The desolate earth just spreads out beneath them, a grim stage set for their brutal landing. Just moments later, Li Jian is somehow standing on that brutal, desolate plain, completely surrounded by the broken bodies of countless others. Then, out of nowhere, a massive force yanks him upwards, a desperate bid for freedom or maybe some insane external power intervening. The soldiers on the ground are still watching, their helmets craned towards the sky as this insane drama plays out. But that climb is cut short and Li Jian is plummeting again, a single, gut-wrenching word tearing from him, sorry. His face, still caked in blood and grime, screams pure exhaustion and agony from his ordeal, his hoodie ripped and stained beyond recognition. Down below, the commander, his face a mask of grim determination, is screaming into his radio, barking out urgent commands as this whole insane situation goes completely off the rails. Boom! A cataclysmic burst of golden energy detonates, ripping apart the earth itself. And there, amidst the chaos and fallen foes, Jian stands tall, his eyes blazing with an otherworldly blue glow. As an incredible surge of power intensifies, making his left eye burn with pure, raw energy. Then, with an explosive leap, he rockets into the sky, a brilliant blue aura blazing around him. His foot poised to deliver a devastating impact. He crashes into the earth, unleashing a shockwave that cracks the very ground, sending shards flying. And then, the impossible happens, jagged rock formations rip free, defying gravity as they float upwards. The very earth bends to his command, twisting and reforming into a colossal, fragmented landscape. And below, his power delves even deeper, tearing open a colossal, dark chasm. Then, from the abyss, a blinding, golden explosion erupts, scorching the very heavens. His face, bathed in the searing blue light of his eye, is a mask of pure, unyielding determination. After unleashing that insane power, Jian's mind races, grappling with the ultimate question, how does he even begin to define himself? One moment, he's like a fish trapped in a murky lake, feeling lost and unseen. But then, the next, he's soaring like a bird, completely free in the open skies, absolutely limitless. And just when you think you've got him figured out, he's back to feeling like a tiny ant, just another face in the crowd, totally indistinguishable. His mind races, cycling through countless identities he's embodied, and sometimes, he was a colossal dinosaur. His consciousness shifts, envisioning the raw, untamed power of a volcanic eruption. Only to then plunge into the serene, yet unforgiving, beauty of an icy expanse. A relentless cycle of creation and destruction that perfectly mirrors his own journey. A brief moment of clarity, a mental reset before the next wave of memories crashes in. As he vividly pictures the ancient, skeletal remains of a colossal beast. The echoes of countless lives reverberating deep within his very being, just like that, he has lived and died thousands of times. A faint, ethereal glow pulses from his hand, a direct manifestation of the immense power linked to these ancient memories. As he vividly recalls existing as countless different beings. The stark image of a fossilized bone hammers home the sheer depth of his ancient recollections, remembering every single one of his past lives. His intense internal journey momentarily dissolves into a void. Before a sudden, impactful sound shatters his deep introspection, as if a profound realization or event has just slammed into reality, a powerful thump. After that earth-shattering thump from before, a massive KEU sound just rips through Jian's mind, like the universe itself is shaking him awake. That ku morphs into a low, rumbling woong as his mind snaps to a giant, ancient eye, blazing with that signature electric blue glow, and you can practically hear the echoes of ah from a million lifetimes. Then, a hunter, hat pulled low, just stares down at some tiny, helpless thing, and the chilling thought hits, again. That glowing blue eye flashes back, but this time it's just pure exhaustion, the crushing weight of, they got me again, hitting hard. A scarred hunter, a wicked grin plastered on his face, clutches his rifle, a living, breathing symbol of the endless hunt, the eternal cycle of being prey. He's got millions of years of memories flooding his brain, and the only things that spark pure hostility are those tiny figures standing against the giant, elephant-like beasts, a brutal reminder of who the real enemy is. The hunter and his buddy stand there, weapons ready, and the answer just screams out, humans. That electric blue eye of the ancient beast burns with pure determination. If he's just gonna keep getting killed and reborn, then becoming an absolute powerhouse was the only option. Those guys lost the natural way of hunting, and he was cool with that, but something darker was brewing inside. But then, a chilling memory flashes, a hand, quick and deadly, gripping a knife, slicing right through his mental defenses. He sees it all, that tiny human figure, perched on the back of the colossal, bleeding beast, the knife buried deep, a savage display of pure, unadulterated cruelty. The creature's tail, hanging lifeless, just hammers home the brutal truth, these beings take lives for pure enjoyment. Jian's inner thoughts rage, branding the hunter's methods as utterly cruel and disgusting, making them nothing but contemptible beings. The memory violently shifts, revealing his past self's brutal end, a colossal, elephant-like beast, bleeding out on the unforgiving, arid earth. He's forced to relive countless lives, each one ending in his brutal demise by their hands, the hunters riding off into a sky ablaze with blood-orange fury. Even though death was just a pit stop, a mere transition, the burning, profound hatred for his killers raged on, unyielding, across every single rebirth. The shadowy figures vanish into the distance, their tracks scarring the sand as the sun bleeds out below the horizon. The brutal desert landscape is drenched in a searing golden light, a single, defiant white flower blooming against all odds amidst the utter desolation. A chilling premonition screams through his mind, the absolute certainty of death closing in once again. The fragile petals of the flower are a stark, almost cruel, contrast to the savage cycle of life and death he's forced to endure. Millions of years, countless lives, each one a torment of death, and the same agonizing questions that he absolutely despises. As his past self's trunk gushes blood onto the parched earth, the crushing question of his next form, his next existence, bears down on him with immense weight. His eyes slam shut in the memory, the profound, terrifying mystery of his endless rebirth, the very core of his existence, still screaming for answers. A single, agonizing tear escapes the creature's eye, a stark reflection of the profound sorrow and utter weariness of an existence trapped in endless cycles of death and rebirth. The relentless torrent of past lives crashes over him, and he's left with one burning question: when will this nightmare of rebirth finally end? A raw, guttural cry rips through his very essence, begging for it all to just stop. His entire existence shatters into a formless void, a terrifying blank slate for whatever comes next. But then, from the depths of nothingness, electric tendrils of light ignite, sparking a new creation. The raw, crackling energy explodes, forming a blinding cocoon around him, and his mind screams, he can't go through this rebirth again. But fate has other plans. The light surges with an unstoppable, electric force, and just like that, his new life ignites once more. The luminous threads coil and intertwine, forging a new vessel, a breathtaking, intricate tapestry of power. The raw energy crystallizes, morphing into an organic, root-like structure, a perfect new body for his ancient soul. Inside the pulsating matrix, a human form takes shape, and his will hardens. This time, he's coming back as a human. The agony of rebirth is mind-shattering, like his very being is being pulverized, and after countless lives, he's absolutely fed up with this whole saga. A figure, writhing in pure agony, bursts forth from the light, its face a mask of ancient, bone-deep exhaustion. But then, a twisted, electrifying thought sparks through the torment: this pain isn't breaking him, it's hyping him up for this new life. He knew the drill. More pain, more power, more chances to dominate the food chain. A brutal truth echoing through his very being as he floated in the cosmic void. How long had he been stuck in this bizarre limbo, he wondered. Before a single, agonizing tear finally broke free from his closed eye, a raw testament to his brutal journey. Suddenly, he burst free from the ethereal layer that had encased him, feeling the shocking bite of cold air for the first time. A sensation so utterly jarring it forced another tear onto his exposed skin. But just as quickly, that chill was met by a wave of warmth, a comforting touch that pushed back against the surrounding harshness. And the infant giant let out a primal wail, his tiny face contorted in a raw, powerful cry. A woman with flowing dark hair gazed down, her own eyes brimming with emotion as she gently cradled the tiny newborn. Her hand, a beacon of profound tenderness, gently stroked his tiny head. Then, Giant's piercing blue eyes slowly fluttered open, absorbing the world through his brand new body. As he was gently held aloft, a brand new life finally beginning. With his new, tiny hands clenching, the truth hit him like a truck: he was back, reborn as a human. Giant stands absolutely dominant, surrounded by a sea of defeated foes. His power is off the charts, his very being a testament to raw strength, agility, intelligence, and mana. But before he became this absolute force, there was a time when he was just a kid, staring out at a world that had no idea what was coming. He'd sit with Oh Youngshil in their simple home, the voices of countless others already calling out to him, even then. Staring up at a skyscraper, it hit him, for the very first time, he had a name. The city streets were a blur of activity, a million lives all moving at once. He quickly grasped that human life was anything but simple, a tangled mess of existence. He devoured books, learning about the deep divisions between conscious beings and their races, even though they all breathed the same air. He kept reading, realizing that humans named everything, and in doing so, gave it meaning. Flash forward to a lab, where a doctor reviews Jian's test results, declaring the kid perfectly fine. The doctor let out a soft laugh, admitting how tough things were for Jian, but still couldn't wrap his head around why the kid couldn't just play like everyone else. But Li Jian, standing nearby with a serious look, cut in, declaring that his inability to play wasn't the actual problem at all. He's a total blank slate, barely reacting to anything, and get this, he didn't even cry when he was born. The doctor's baffled, stating that physically, the kid is perfectly fine. She's thinking, is it psychological, then blurts out, psycho, what? Her face is a mask of worry, the weight of the situation clearly crushing her. The doctor quickly backpedals, then drops the bomb, take him to a psychiatrist. The suggestion hangs in the air, thick with unspoken implications. A psychiatrist? She's freaking out, yelling that other doctors said he was normal. What is he even talking about? And then, the kid himself, totally freaking out, screams, calm down. How can I calm down right now? His raw emotion snaps her attention to him, her face softening with a mother's worry. She thinks to herself, my name is Oh Youngshil. Then, a brutal self-criticism, she's stupid and ignorant. Her mind flashes back to a devastating war, where she lost her entire family. Already shattered by one tragedy, Youngshil's world crumbled further as her husband was snatched away by another brutal war. But even as she cradled the tiny giant, she faced a world that was just relentlessly, brutally cruel. Her eyes, filled with a profound weariness, reflected the sheer brutality of her existence. But then, a tiny spark ignited within her, the innocent face of her baby, a beacon of hope in the darkness. Years passed, and Youngshil became a force of nature, hauling Jian on her back, hustling vegetables at the market just to survive, a true warrior in the face of poverty. Even when the village finally quieted down for the night, the relentless grind never truly stopped for her. Staring into the darkness, next to her sleeping child, Youngshil's mind raced with endless worries about tomorrow. She remembered hearing that kids who talked to people grew up properly, a desperate hope she clung to for her own boy. As she watched him sleep, a tidal wave of sadness and fierce love crashed over her, her silent prayers for his future echoing in the stillness. But even as he slept, those piercing blue eyes, glowing faintly, hinted at a destiny far beyond the simple life she desperately wanted for him. He couldn't understand her words, but that warm feeling. It hit different. A comfort radiating from his mom, Oh Youngshil, who was just chilling, sleeping next to him. And Jian? He was totally fine with it. He just looked up, his little face deep in thought, like the world was about to drop something amazing. Those piercing blue eyes, totally unique against his dark hair, already showed a wisdom way beyond his age. But in this life, under a sky that looked seriously moody, there was one huge difference that made him stand out, a weird secret hiding just below the surface. Down in the murky water, a frog's single, creepy eye was totally watching everything go down. Barefoot, the kid stepped onto a gnarly branch, and the little frog was instantly like, who dis? His hand slowly dipped into the water, and the frog just yeeted itself out of there, totally spooked. He looked down, his blue eye mirroring the rippling water, a quiet sign of his weird, special bond with nature. But this special connection? It was attracting some serious trouble, as two super mad guys, one with a stick, stomped up looking for a fight. The tension exploded into a sudden, brutal exchange, a heavy impact echoing through the night. But the retaliation was instant and devastating, sending him flying from the sheer force of the blow. Meanwhile, another figure could only watch in stunned disbelief, a sharp intake of breath his only reaction. His voice, laced with terror and frustration, cut through the silence, demanding to know the point of this midnight madness. Before long, he was on his knees, utterly broken, begging for his very existence from the imposing man above him. But the stern man's expression was unyielding, his chilling response leaving no room for negotiation. Panicked, the man on the ground shrieked his innocence, his pleas growing more frantic with every word. Finally, the trio, with Jian in tow, was marched away from the stunned crowd, leaving a trail of confusion in their wake. The imposing figure delivered one last, chilling ultimatum, his voice promising dire consequences for any defiance. But as the night deepened, something extraordinary happened. Jian's eyes ignited with an intense, electric blue, a powerful aura radiating from his very being. He stared up at the colossal full moon, its glow reflecting the raw power now stirring within him. And then, as if summoned by his very presence, a colossal, blinding pillar of light erupted into the night, tearing through the darkness. A hand plunges into the abyss, a figure desperately trying to reach something in the darkness below. But from the edge, Giant stares down, his eyes locked onto the tiny, helpless figures caught in the abyss. Deep within the pit, an adult man's face twists, his eyes wide with terror as he stares upward. He lunges for a woman, her piercing scream echoing through the darkness, a raw cry for help. Witnessing the desperate struggle of the humans below, Giant's eyes ignite with an otherworldly blue glow, mirroring the moon's power. The man in the pit, witnessing the impossible glow, gasps in shock, yelling a desperate warning about the danger above. His eyes are glued to the impossible sight, a silent scream of disbelief frozen on his features. A single, choked sound escapes him, his brain short-circuiting at the sheer impossibility of it all. A daring thought sparks in his mind, it'd be perfect to test it out. And then, Giant defies gravity, soaring into the moonlight, a silhouette against the celestial sphere. Now above it all, he gazes up at the endless, cloud-draped sky and the magnificent, glowing moon. With his eyes blazing an electric blue, Giant stares upward, a silent question hanging in the air as the raw power inside him surges. Down below, he drops into a crouch, eyes locked on an unseen target, the soldier commander a silent, watchful presence behind him. High above, the commander and a sharp-suited figure survey the chaos, their forms silhouetted against the night as they gaze into the abyss. Suddenly, Giant's power explodes. Electric blue energy arcs around his hand, his eyes burning with an unholy light, a silent, "What was that?" escaping his lips as he feels the surge. The raw power absolutely erupts from him, a blinding, expanding wave of electric blue lightning blasting outwards. Then, with a terrifying focus, he unleashes a concentrated, lightning-fast blast of that potent blue energy. Both the suited man and an older figure are thrown back in sheer disbelief, their expressions a mix of terror and awe at the raw power unleashed. Giant's face is pure, unadulterated focus, his eyes blazing with an inferno of blue light as the power swirls around him like a storm. His hand, now a weapon of pure, unbridled power, explodes with electric blue lightning, ready to unleash another devastating blow. A hulking, armed enforcer screams in agony, his face twisting in shock as he's rocked by the unexpected, brutal impact. His hand, still locked onto his weapon, shakes violently, the sheer force of the unseen assault rattling him to his core. With an explosive surge of power, Giant went full throttle, unleashing the Argentinosaurus attack with mind-blowing force. The blue lightning ripped through an adult male, slamming him back with such insane power that the very air warped. Giant kept up the aerial assault, pummeling the guy with relentless energy, his tiny body somehow radiating an overwhelming aura. The victim was totally overwhelmed, his body twisting and contorting under the insane pressure of that blue lightning. Then, with one last, devastating hit, the impact was so brutal, blood splattered everywhere, ending the assault with a bang. Another adult male observer was absolutely frozen in terror, the blue lightning reflecting like pure horror in his wide, shocked eyes. The kid's face was totally stone-cold, his eyes blazing with an insane blue light as the energy just kept surging around him. Standing like a boss amidst the fallen, Giant just surveyed the scene, while Youngshil and the other terrified guy could only gape in stunned silence at the sheer devastation. His gaze drifted up, and then it hit him, a mind-blowing realization, all the beings that I have seen live here. He clenched his tiny fist, the blue energy still crackling around it, as the insane truth just hit him like a truck. The revelation just kept coming, a chilling, internal declaration, I was born with all of their abilities. Perched on a desolate cliff, staring out at a massive landscape, he pondered the mind-bending implications of his existence, one burning question screaming in the silence, why? His mind raced, a single thought echoing, I don't know. What was happening? What had he done? But one thing was crystal clear, the intense gaze of the man above him, fixated on you. A look of utter shock twisted the commander's features, a stunned, what? Barely audible. Still on the ground, a tiny silhouette against the towering soldiers, he could only stare up at them. A tiny hand instinctively reached out, searching for something lost in the chaos. The commander's voice grew sharper, a memory surfacing, this life was my last. And then, the pointed accusation again, you. His face contorted into a snarl of fury and disbelief, a guttural scream erupting, what the hell? His eyes bulged, the commander's voice escalating into a desperate roar, a single, burning question, are you? He could only gaze upwards, his small frame dwarfed by the sheer force of the confrontation, his dark hair framing a bewildered expression. His face remained a blank slate, a silent storm brewing behind his eyes. Still reeling, the commander could only muster a frustrated humph, his fury barely contained. His dark hair, a stark contrast against the fading light, was the last image before the scene cut, leaving us with the burning questions of his true nature and the commander's desperate pleas. Those piercing blue eyes, now shimmering with an otherworldly glow, hint at the unfathomable depths of his power, silently absorbing the commander's desperate questions. The phone's ringing is relentless, but Giant can only stare up from the ground, his eyes wide with pure terror. Just as the pounding footsteps of two menacing figures close in, their intent clear and dangerous. Scrambling to his feet, he bolts, a tiny, desperate figure tearing down the desolate path. But the chase is short-lived as one of his pursuers is violently launched backward, slamming into the ground with a brutal impact, blood exploding onto the concrete. Then, another unseen blow connects with devastating force, leaving the second man's face twisted in pure, unadulterated terror, his eyes bulging at the impossible reversal. But it's Giant's small hand, clenching around a glowing orb, crushing it with a fierce squeeze, that holds the key. And the second attacker crumples, his face a bloody ruin, utterly defeated by an invisible power. Oh, Youngshil can only gape, her mouth frozen in a silent, blood-curdling scream of pure horror. As Giant stands victorious amidst the fallen, the glowing object still clutched in his hand, his small frame now radiating an unexpected, fierce resolve. His eyes, once filled with fear, now blaze with an intense, electric blue light, a terrifying transformation. Just when you thought it was over, Giant is back in the thick of it, getting absolutely pummeled by a new enemy. This guy is throwing hands, pushing Giant back with pure, raw power. What the hell are you? The attacker screams, clearly not holding back. No breaks, no mercy. The hits just keep coming, slamming into him until he's forced to his knees. This guy is going all out. And just like that, he's down. Giant hits the dirt, completely overwhelmed, with the attacker looming large above him. Flat on his back, he's just staring up, every inch of him screaming in pain, totally helpless right now. That guy's face is just pure evil, a nasty smirk as he looks down at Giant, loving every second of this. And then, things get even crazier. A dark, menacing purple aura explodes around the attacker, showing off some serious, dangerous power. Giant lets out a groan, muttering, "That hurt," under his breath, clearly feeling every single hit. The attacker, now glowing with that dark power, spills the beans. "If I don't manifest anything, I'm just like a normal human," he says, totally arrogant. Giant's still down, but he's watching, his face a total blank slate. What's he thinking? Is he planning something, or just trying to survive? But hold up, something's changing. A fierce, electric blue glow ignites in Giant's eyes. His power is waking up, and it's about to get real. Boom! Out of nowhere, an invisible force slams into the attacker, making him grunt in pain, his face twisting in pure shock. Giant just hit him with something serious. He's clutching his head, stumbling back, all that arrogance gone, replaced by a furious, "This little brat." Giant just flipped the script. His eyes, once filled with terror, now burned with an icy resolve as he locked onto his attacker. And with an explosive, unseen force, a devastating impact ripped through the very fabric of reality. The assailant's face instantly contorted into an agonizing grimace, his features twisting in a silent, visceral scream of pure pain. As the unseen power intensified, his hand locked onto the man's neck with an iron grip. With an explosive, sustained surge of raw power, he effortlessly hoisted the struggling figure into the air, his eyes now blazing with an intense, electric blue light. The kid's gaze remained absolutely locked, his glowing blue eyes radiating an almost palpable, terrifying energy. The assailant's head snapped back violently, a guttural, agonizing scream tearing from his throat. His cries intensified, a prolonged, blood-curdling shriek of pure torment echoing through the space. The man's struggles rapidly weakened, his body slumping as muffled, desperate sounds escaped him, still held aloft by the kid's unwavering, terrifying power. With a strained, powerful breath, the assailant's eyes rolled back, his face slack with unconsciousness, as Giant maintained his absolute, dominant grip. As consciousness flickered back for a fleeting moment, the utterly defeated man managed to gasp out a single, derogatory word, "chimpanzee." Finally releasing his hold, a faint, ethereal blue glow lingered on his hand, a silent, terrifying testament to the raw power he now commanded, a power that would continue to manifest as long as he willed it. Power still coursing, an intense electric blue glow bursts from Giant's eye, showcasing the sheer, unbridled force he's unleashing. But the assailant's face is a mask of pure agony, sweat pouring as he's crushed by the unseen force. Giant's stare is locked on, his eyes blazing with blue energy, as if he's just grasped the insane truth, his power means he can literally be anything. Then, with a brutal, explosive thwack, the assailant is slammed to the ground. He's down, out cold, blood already pooling on the concrete, as Giant looms over him, hands still outstretched. Another brutal thwack rings out as even more blood erupts from the point of impact. Staring down at the crumpled form, a fresh splatter of blood now stains Giant's shirt, a chilling trophy of his power. His eyes still hold a faint glow, but a look of pure horror starts to creep onto his face, a streak of blood on his cheek reflecting the chaos within. The full weight of his actions crashes down, his face twisting into a silent, gut-wrenching scream of terror. The blue power drains from his eye, leaving behind a single, shimmering tear that slowly starts to track down his cheek. Blood streaks his face as he stares up, a haunted look in his eyes. Then, a chilling thought hits him, I made a mistake. His blue eyes are filled with sorrow, a mysterious device on his chest pulsing with a faint glow. Elsewhere, the dark, jagged peaks of distant mountains pierce a stormy sky, with ominous birds circling overhead. Out of nowhere, a revolver cracks, smoke exploding from the barrel as a shot rips through the air. The assailant goes down hard on the dusty ground, but Jian is also knocked off his feet by the sheer force. He's down, momentarily stunned, his small frame sprawled on the unforgiving earth. A guttural groan rips from the assailant, his face already a mess of bruises and blood. Jian looms over the man, who's now a broken mess on the ground, a sickening crack echoing in the silence. The assailant's eyes go wide with pure terror, a primal scream ripping from his throat. Still reeling from the brutal impact, Jian is sent flying, a choked gasp ripped from his throat as he spirals helplessly through the air. He hits the ground with a sickening thud, only to be instantly snatched by the shadowy assailant, who mercilessly hauls his battered body across the dirt, a desperate gasp tearing from his lungs. The vast, indifferent sky looms overhead, a breathtaking swirl of pinks and blues, completely oblivious to the brutal struggle happening beneath it. His hand, raw and bleeding, claws at the dirt, every nerve screaming in agony as the pain threatens to overwhelm him. Face smashed into the unforgiving ground, he can only choke out a desperate grunt, his vision swimming as the world spins out of control. With a monumental effort, he forces his head up, his eyes wide with a terrifying blend of confusion and pure agony, another desperate whimper tearing from his throat. His small, broken body lies utterly still, a crimson stain blossoming beneath him, a horrifying testament to the sheer, crushing force he just survived. His eyes are hollow, lifeless, his face a mask of grime and gore, as a barely audible, agonizing sigh escapes his trembling lips. The pain is a monstrous, all-consuming inferno, a white-hot agony that sears through every fiber of his being, forcing his hand into a desperate, involuntary clench. His breath catches, a ragged, desperate gasp, as his blood-stained lips part, the sheer, unadulterated pain carved deep into his youthful, suffering face. Staring up at the cold, uncaring expanse of the sky, a terrifying, soul-crushing question echoes in his shattered mind, am I going to die? The clouds continue their slow, mocking dance, offering absolutely no comfort or answer to his desperate, silent plea, as the world around him begins to fade into an ominous darkness. His eyes, blown wide with pure shock and agony, mirrored the brutal light of his shattered reality. As a searing crimson glow ignited deep within their core, a brutal testament to the raw violence he'd just faced. Above, the vast sky unfurled, a canvas of soft, utterly indifferent clouds, offering absolutely no comfort to the horror unfolding beneath. Then, a brutal, jarring memory of his fall slammed into him, his body twisting helplessly as blood exploded around him. Before the crushing, undeniable reality of his present state crashed back, leaving him broken on the cold ground, a dark, growing pool spreading from his head. His vision swam, but he could still just barely make out the menacing, towering shadow of his attacker, a dark presence looming over him, forcing him to strain his neck, his eyes frantically searching for any sliver of hope. With a desperate, raw surge of will, he reached out a trembling hand, trying to leverage himself up against a splintered wooden beam. But his strength utterly failed him, and he crashed back down, the futile effort only intensifying his agony. Lying utterly motionless once more, the crimson stain around his head continued its relentless spread. And then, a cold, unyielding hand clamped down hard on his neck, dragging him deeper into the encroaching darkness. After the brutal attack, Jian's mind flickered back to life, his eyes slowly opening to a world he barely recognized. A bizarre, squishy feeling, like a sea cucumber, washed over him, and a pained grunt escaped his lips as he fought to regain control of his limbs. Through the haze of pain and disorientation, one truth screamed in his mind, he was alive. His gaze fell upon his own small form, a wave of exhaustion washing over him. Now, his bare feet were submerged in cool, shallow water, the peaceful ripples a stark reminder of his miraculous escape. A scowl creased his brow as he processed his predicament, internally raging at his own stubborn survival instinct for dragging him through hell. But then, a peculiar thought struck him, this whole ordeal was interesting, a bizarre fascination eclipsing his pain. He stared up at the endless, cloudy expanse, baffled by how his tiny, child's body had even been able to function, it simply didn't make sense. With his feet still submerged, he had to admit, stranger things were definitely afoot. Then, his ear perked up, a subtle noise snagging his focus. His head cocked, his reflection in the water mirroring his intense concentration, he could hear it clearly now. Above, the clouds continued their silent march, oblivious to the heightened awareness stirring beneath them. The serene sky is violently shattered by a desperate, echoing scream, a chilling sound that rips through the silence. The frantic cry intensifies, cutting through the air, a woman's voice screaming, Jian. Oh Young-shil's face twists into a mask of pure terror as she lets out a guttural scream, her hands clawing at her head in utter desperation. An old man, his face grim with concern, stands by her side, as her desperate pleas echo through the air. More villagers rush to the scene, their faces mirroring the growing panic, as Young-shil's voice cracks with raw emotion, where are you, Jian? Her screams become a desperate mantra, the name, Jian, tearing from her throat again and again. Consumed by sheer terror, Young-shil's legs give out, her body crumpling to the ground as the frantic search rages on. Her jaw unhinges in a silent, agonizing shriek, a visceral testament to her absolute terror. Miles away from the chaos, a lone figure stands isolated in an endless field, the dying sun painting the sky in hues of despair. It's Jain, his eyes vacant and lost, a chilling smear of blood staining his lips. The camera zooms in, revealing the fresh wound on his lip, a brutal testament to the hell he's just survived. He stands frozen, a tiny speck in the overwhelming expanse, a silent scarecrow his only companion, a grim reflection of his isolation. A small sparrow perches quietly on a branch, its presence a fleeting moment of calm before a sudden, jarring memory erupts. A massive, indistinct foot slams down with a deafening crash, the impact sending tremors through the very air. His young face contorts in a silent scream of agony, the force of the blow tearing through him. He is thrown violently through the air, a small, helpless figure against an overwhelming power. Later, sitting alone, he quietly eats a small piece of food, the memory of the attack still fresh, yet his resolve begins to harden. A quiet determination settles over him as he thinks that even if he isn't fully grown, he can still fight for himself. A gentle face, belonging to Lee Jain, appears in his mind, her gaze soft and full of warmth. Her hand reaches out, a comforting gesture, as her voice echoes a profound declaration of love. Back in the present, Jain's eyes, still bearing the mark of his injury, stare blankly ahead, lost in thought. He lowers his gaze, the weight of his memories and his current predicament pressing down on him. Standing alone in the vast, open field, he appears small and vulnerable against the fading light of the sky. His back to the viewer, he remains a solitary figure, lost in the quiet contemplation of his past and uncertain future. He hits the dirt with a heavy thud, his body finally giving up the fight against sheer exhaustion. A deep breath, a soft sigh, a moment of pure, unadulterated release. Another deep breath, another soft sound, as the world around him blurs into a haze of exhaustion. The vast sky above him stretches out, a canvas of fiery orange and soft pink as the sun makes its dramatic exit. Days bleed into nights, the lush green foliage around him now bathed in the glorious golden light of a brand new dawn. The world keeps spinning, and 4 intense days later, the landscape remains deceptively serene. Golden sunlight pierces through the canopy, painting the forest floor with shifting, dappled shadows. Jain finally sits up, a thoughtful hum escaping his lips, his eyes locked onto something far beyond the visible horizon. He stays there, a tiny figure against the immense sky, lost in contemplation of the silent, endless expanse. But the sheer effort is too much, and he crashes down again, his face now streaked with grime. A ragged, desperate breath escapes him, his body finally giving in to the crushing, lingering exhaustion. He was down, but not out. His body was on fire, his gut twisting with a sensation he couldn't place, a brutal aftermath of his collapse. But deep within his mind, he was floating in a cosmic void, his eyes blazing with electric blue energy, a single, mind-bending question burning through his consciousness: was this all about food? Ethereal blue energy swirled around him, illuminating strange, glowing structures, as he wrestled with a fundamental question: was he really just an omnivore, or was there something far more ancient and powerful within him? Flashes of primal instinct, a sparrow, then a coiled snake, surged through his mind. Then a squirrel, its eyes piercing, brought back the burning question: what was the real problem here? How could he, who had lived millions of lives, be feeling something completely new? Then, the terrifying descent began. He plunged into a watery abyss, the chilling word death screaming in his mind, but even as he sank, he was no closer to understanding anything. Trapped in a terrifying dreamscape, Jain plunged deeper into a chilling blue void. The stakes were impossibly high, this wasn't just about his body, but the very essence of his soul. Suddenly, the crushing darkness dissolved into a swirling, ominous mist, a terrifying gateway between his inner nightmare and whatever awaited him. Then, his eyes snapped open, a blinding light cutting through the haze, dragging him back from the brink. The nightmare shattered, replaced by the crisp sound of rustling leaves and the golden glow of sunlight piercing through a dense forest canopy, a jarring return to reality. He lay motionless on the ground, until a desperate hand reached out to him, its owner having tracked the subtle sounds of his awakening. It was Lee Jain, her face a mask of pure terror, as she dropped to her knees beside him, her hand trembling, desperate to confirm he was alive. Her eyes, wide with panic, darted over his motionless body, a silent scream for him to just move. A choked gasp tore from her throat, a raw mix of terror and desperate hope. Then, Jain's eyes finally snapped wide open, his gaze hazy as he stared up, his face streaked with grime from the forest. Spotting his eyes open, Lee Jain screamed his name, her voice a raw, desperate cry of pure relief and terror. Her face was contorted in sheer anguish, a silent, desperate scream frozen on her lips. She yanked him into a crushing embrace, holding him tight, her relief overwhelming as he finally sat up, still dazed but safe in her desperate grip. Lee Jain, absolutely distraught, clutched the boy, her face a torrent of tears. From his blurry vision, he saw her tear-soaked face, a primal thought cutting through the fog: he was almost gone, but now, he was coming back. But then, a more urgent, primal instinct hit him. He was starving, and he wanted food, specifically from this human. Her wails just kept coming, a deafening noise that wouldn't quit. Her face was pure anguish, tears streaming down without end. He couldn't believe she was still crying. Just stop already and feed him. His eyes, still hazy, just stared into nothingness. And then, it clicked for him, Jian was finally taking it all in. He figured the best way to shut her up was to make her stop crying, so he decided to try speaking human words, even if he had no clue what they meant. A lone tear rolled down Li Jian's face, her sadness still overwhelming. He remembered the words Oh Youngshil always said, always with that warm smile. And then, from his lips, came the most unexpected phrase, I love you. He gazes up at the girl, her face a mask of anguish, a silent scream tearing through her. Her cries, a primal, heart-wrenching sound, ripped through the air, a desperate plea that shatters the silence of the wilderness. He buries his head against her, feeling the violent tremors rack her frame, the scalding warmth of her tears drenching his hair. His own eyes brim with tears, mirroring her profound grief, a wordless connection forged in shared despair. A lone tear carves a clean streak through the grime on his cheek, as he grapples with the overwhelming torrent of her anguish. He recalls the image of Oh Youngshil, the woman he now recognizes as his mother, and the powerful words she frequently uttered. Clinging to each other, their mutual agony spirals, her heart-wrenching sobs escalating to an unbearable pitch. Her wails intensify, a raw deluge of emotion erupting, as he desperately clings to her. His own tears stream down relentlessly, a poignant reflection of her utter desolation. From a bird's eye view, the two figures seem tiny and exposed, a heart-wrenching scene of mutual anguish swallowed by the immense wilderness. A gentle, reassuring hand settles on his head, a silent promise of comfort in their profound moment of sorrow. He gazes upward, his entire being consumed by a singular, urgent thought, he has to make her stop crying. The sky explodes with color, a breathtaking canvas of orange and pink clouds stretching endlessly. With a brilliant, golden light tearing through the horizon, igniting the very fabric of the atmosphere with its intense glow. The clouds churn and morph, a dynamic ballet of light and shadow unfolding dramatically overhead. And there, captivated by the breathtaking spectacle, Li Jian stares up, lost in a memory of a sky that was especially beautiful. A young boy's face, covered in dirt, finds a moment of quiet vulnerability. But then, a young woman's anguished scream rips through the air, her mouth wide in a silent, desperate cry. This raw, emotional outburst echoes across a serene landscape, bathed in the warm glow of a setting sun, her figure tiny against the massive, fading light. A gentle hand rests on the boy's head, a silent plea to let's just stay like this a little longer, until I can become independent. A desperate wish for a moment of peace. The memory lingers on the tranquil, fading light of the sunset, a poignant echo of a cherished, fleeting moment. Back in the present, a man with a serious expression questions, a kid, his brow furrowed in total surprise. Li Jian, her face etched with distress, confronts him, so, what you're saying is, a little kid did all this? That's why I've been so worried, her voice trembling with disbelief and concern. In a shocking confession, a man in a dark suit declares, I killed that kid, as a body lies lifeless on the floor. But then, the scene cuts, and he's asking, where's the body now? And why was Detective Oh Youngshil even there? His face is a mask of pure anguish, the pressure clearly getting to him. Back in the present, Li Jian is practically losing it, stammering, I'm literally out of my mind with worry right now. Her desperation explodes as she grabs his shirt, demanding, just listen to me. Why are you so quiet? A terrifying flashback hits, the man is bound and gagged, eyes screaming as he remembers, you saw it. I shot the kid to save your life. That memory is pure nightmare fuel, and his face shows every ounce of it. Li Jian's face is a mess of tears, her anxiety practically radiating off her. He's listening, but his face is all skepticism, not buying a word of it. He fires back, you actually believe him? He scoffs, completely dismissing it as, just the commie's words. His frustration is boiling over, demanding to know why she's even bringing it up. The tension is palpable, and his mind races, he just wants this whole agonizing conversation to be over, to make it all disappear. He stands defiant, shouting that he let the kid go, a detective. But Li Jian, absolutely distraught, screams back that he's destroying everything they had. A brutal memory rips through his mind, a younger him, gun drawn, facing the kid, his voice raw with conviction, believing the detective's death was the child's fault. The flashback intensifies, his past self's voice booming, a chilling confession that the one he pulled the trigger on was the kid. The kid's face twists in pure horror, a gut-wrenching scream tearing from his throat, branding his assailant a monster. Back to the present, he takes a long, deliberate drag from his cigarette, the smoke a silent witness to the storm raging within him. Another chilling memory, his younger self, gun still trained, looking down, a flicker of disbelief that his target was still breathing. His eyes dart away, his face a mask, the crushing burden of his past etched into every line. The single word hangs heavy in the air, a haunting echo of the child's desperate cry, monster. Suddenly, a jarring cut to a peaceful blue sky, clouds drifting lazily, a brief, unsettling calm before the next piece of the puzzle drops. The flashback continues, painting a picture of a bustling traditional street where Oh Young-shil, in her vibrant hanbok, strolls with a young child, another kid darting playfully ahead, oblivious to the coming storm. They walk further down the sun-drenched street, their innocent forms shrinking as the haunting memory slowly dissolves. A powerful memory flashes, a smaller hand held tight in a larger one, a bond so strong. Young-shil always there, a guiding light so he'd never be lost again. Her eyes, deep and thoughtful, held a hidden weight, contrasting sharply with the child's radiant, innocent smile. He couldn't hate Young-shil for anything she'd done, not after everything. Watching the child's journey. But that very connection was a ticking time bomb, a danger he foresaw. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a tranquil, snow-covered night. A breathtaking winter expanse. Then BAM. We're at an elementary school, a furious parent screaming, "You're telling me that you hit my kid." Two enraged adults corner the small child, one roaring, "Thugs," while the other demands, "Did your teacher tell you to do that?" The present crashes back, Lee Jae-in, utterly distraught, stammers, "Well, no, but I didn't think it was a big deal, so I just." As the unnamed man's intense gaze pierces her, "What's you say?" Oh Young-shil's voice, absolutely seething with indignation, rips through the air, challenging the audacity of someone speaking to a mother like that. Clutching young Jae-in protectively, her eyes locked onto an unseen accuser, she's hit with a brutal demand, "Why don't you raise your kids?" Suddenly, the setting changes to a cramped, humble room, where Oh Young-shil and Jae-in face a raging man, who snarls a terrifying threat, "I'll crush your hands and wrists." His chilling words hang in the air, as a woman beside him glares, practically daring her to disagree. Young Jae-in, his tiny face a stoic mask, takes in the entire exchange, a single, powerful thought of Young-shil resonating deep within him. His eyes fall to his own small feet, a heartbreaking realization dawning, she was always, always kind only to him. Then, a fleeting, perfect memory, Young-shil and the boy, sharing a meal outside, a warm voice affectionately calling him, Young-shil's kid. But the brutal reality snaps back into focus, the furious woman's voice shrieking, demanding to know what he dared say to her child, absolutely refusing to admit any wrongdoing. Oh Young-shil's hands, now sifting through beans, visibly shake, her mind boiling with rage at the old hags who dared to accuse them. Then, in a flash, the bowl of beans is violently flipped, scattering everywhere, as a voice absolutely explodes in frustration, "What is wrong with you?" Oh Young-shil, her face twisted into a primal snarl, absolutely explodes forward, a desperate, guttural cry of "Oh gosh," tearing from her, as this confrontation goes completely off the rails. She stands absolutely defiant before the accusing adults, her voice roaring in a fierce, protective defense of Jae-in, throwing the woman's own words right back at her, "What did you say about my kid, HUH? There's nothing wrong with my kid." Young-shil is not backing down. She's got Jae-in clutched tight, absolutely tearing into the accusers, shutting down their nonsense with pure fury. The drama is boiling over, everyone's watching this street fight unfold, and then the guy drops the "loyalty to the country" card. Seriously, what's his deal? But Young-shil isn't even flinching. She fires back with an epic declaration, saying she'd rather die than let anyone take Jae-in away. This isn't just talk, her past fuels her fire. Her dad died for the country, then her husband did the same, leaving her to face the world alone as a single mom. Her eyes are burning as she confronts him, daring him to try and take her kid now, her words a desperate cry for Jae-in, and a chilling hint about another life she's protecting. Jae-in, caught in the crossfire of this emotional storm, can only watch, his innocent eyes reflecting the crushing burden of the grown-ups' fight. Things get rough, and Young-shil is knocked to the floor, but even from there, she's still defiant, screaming that she's stuck, but she'll die fighting before she ever gives in. Her face is a mask of raw pain and pure rage, as she stares down her attacker, daring him to finish her off. Her scream rips through the air, as she unleashes a furious challenge, then tells him to get lost. The chaotic days blurred into weeks under a vast, uncaring sky, as Young-shil waged an endless war against the world, her fight becoming the very rhythm of her life. An absolutely breathtaking field of vibrant flowers explodes into view, bathed in the glow of a perfect blue sky. It's pure, unadulterated peace. But even in this calm, Jae-in's mind was racing, a profound realization hitting him, he had actually gotten used to this human body and lifestyle. The wind whispered secrets through the flowers, a symphony of nature's calm. Golden rays pierced through the clouds, bathing the entire landscape in a divine light, a moment of pure, unadulterated bliss. And there, a lone figure stood, almost lost in a sea of blossoms, their eyes fixed on the endless blue above. Meanwhile, Young-shil was catching some peaceful Z's, a cute yellow flower nestled behind her ear, looking absolutely angelic in her sleep. But then, she woke up, flashing Jae-in a sweet smile and playfully asking, "Isn't your mom pretty?" Jian, however, just looked away, a flicker of sadness in his deep blue eyes, his mind clearly on something else entirely. But young Shil just kept that soft smile, watching him with an almost knowing gaze, like she understood everything without a single word. But even with all this peace, a nagging thought kept creeping into Jian's head, the idea of actually leaving this life behind. And as they walked, hand in hand, through that endless field, young Shil just gave him a simple, reassuring, all right. A gentle gust of wind swirled around them, a silent witness to their shared, unspoken understanding. Let's go get some food, a vibrant young woman exclaims, her energy infectious. A hand reaches out. A silent, powerful invitation. Beckoning forward with undeniable warmth. It's young Shil's hand. Now guiding a young boy through an endless sea of dandelions, a scene of pure, unadulterated peace. His small form moves with purpose. As she watches over him, her expression a testament to unwavering care. Why fight? The boy questions. His piercing blue eyes holding a depth beyond his years, while young Shil hangs on his every word. I'll do it so I can protect her, he declares with fierce determination. Their journey continuing, a bond forged in quiet resolve, under the boundless expanse of the heavens. Her eyes, filled with a quiet intensity, stare into the distance, a silent worry etched on her face. Then, a sudden, sharp cry rips through the air, and she's plummeting, a frantic, high-pitched wail echoing around her. But just as quickly, the terrifying fall vanishes, replaced by a lone dandelion seed, drifting effortlessly, a voice coolly noting its passage. Li Jian, now calm and collected, stands with a young Jian, gazing at the sky, her words a gentle warning about the impending cold and snow. Little Jian, clinging to an adult's hand, his grip a silent plea for comfort and connection. His gaze drops, a stubborn refusal in his stance, a defiant declaration that he won't go, wanting to stay beneath the endless blue. His heart's desire is crystal clear, more time with young Shil, that's all he wants. A lone dandelion, a fragile beacon, rests on the ground, a poignant reminder of precious, fleeting time. A tiny hand descends, carefully claiming the dandelion from its earthy bed. The earth lies still, a tranquil backdrop to the tender scene. Li Jian and Jian, nestled amidst a sea of golden dandelions, share a peaceful moment, with young Shil's watchful presence nearby. But as Jian wanders off into the horizon, a shadowy figure, the unnamed man, stalks him from a distance, his ominous words echoing, "Found you." Suddenly, the mysterious unnamed man is back, clutching a tiny white flower, his eyes downcast. But don't let that fool you, because the dream screams out a single, terrifying word, monster. Then, bam. The scene cuts, zooming in on Jian's piercing dark blue eye, burning with an intense, unreadable emotion as the truth hits him. Alright, buckle up, because in this world, it's pure, unadulterated survival of the fittest. The weak? They're just lunch for the strong. And that's a cold, hard truth that applies to every single living thing out there. Seriously, every single creature gets this rule the moment they start their journey in this world. But hold up, because as you climb the ranks of existence, you start seeing a whole new kind of death. And for Jian, there are some deaths that just don't make any sense at all. You can see it in his eyes, the heavy burden of these baffling losses, a grim realization hitting him hard. Some people just died so someone else could chill out and beat the heat. Then there were those who just bit the dust so someone else could stay warm and cozy. And don't even get me started on the ones who gave up everything for someone else's crazy quest for new discoveries. And yeah, some just straight up died so someone else could stack up more cash. The brutal truth of this world hits hard, some deaths are just trophies, mere decorations for the powerful. And others? They're just for twisted enjoyment, a sick game for those who pull the strings. Jian's eyes, usually so innocent, now hold a chilling depth, staring right into the heart of this cruel reality. Just one word sums it up, unfortunate. But he keeps moving, each step a silent declaration, as if he's already figured out the dark secrets of this existence. That innocent face now carries a heavy wisdom, a quiet determination brewing beneath the surface. Then, a sudden shift. The endless blue sky, a stark, almost jarring contrast to the darkness he just faced. Later, by a peaceful river, Jian's sharp gaze catches something strange, a mysterious, dark mass bobbing in the water. Without hesitation, his hand plunges into the cool current, grabbing hold of the enigmatic object. Clutching his new discovery, he casts a quick, intense look back into the forest, a new chapter about to unfold. A full 12 years had flown by since his arrival. And Jian had finally, truly, settled into the rhythm of the human world. But in that same span, his neighborhood had transformed dramatically. With roads straightening into sleek lines and buildings soaring ever higher. He watched the world shift around him, a silent observer of relentless progress. As massive plumes of dark smoke now choked the sky from towering industrial chimneys. A stark, unsettling contrast to the once pristine river he now stood beside, a simple bowl clutched in his hand. The very air seemed to crackle and thicken with the relentless output of these new, imposing structures. A massive new factory having aggressively staked its claim near the river. Right there, directly in front of his own home. A soft, almost hesitant creak broke the silence as he gently pushed open a door. To find Oh Youngshil, finally at peace, deeply asleep within the quiet room. Youngshil was out cold, caught in a deep, uneasy sleep. Turns out, she was sick, and Jian was totally stressed, watching her with a worried look. He was totally squirming, super uncomfortable, just staring at the floor. Then, Li Jian, this young woman, looked at him and was like, "Dude, why are you even doing that?" She was trying to figure out why he wouldn't eat, but he just ghosted her, turning his head away without a word. Knowing Youngshil was feeling rough, Li Jian had whipped up some seriously good food. At the table, she tried to get him to eat, telling him how good it was for him, but he just kept saying, "Nope, don't want it." She held up a bite, practically begging him to just open up. But he was still totally stubborn, not budging an inch. Li Jian just stared, a silent battle of wills, her face a total mix of ugh and worry. She tried to guilt-trip him, saying how awesome the food was, and that everyone else would kill for a bite. Totally fed up, she snapped that if he wasn't going to eat it, she'd just devour the whole thing herself. Back then, a deep regret gnawed at him, a burning thought that he should have stopped her from eating it. Now, with careful, almost desperate hands, he meticulously tended to the ailing Youngshil, her face still a ghostly pale from the sickness. He dabbed her forehead with a cool cloth, a desperate attempt to bring down the fever, maintaining a silent, worried vigil by her bedside. Her eyes, though still heavy with exhaustion, showed a flicker of awareness, a slow, agonizing return from the depths of her illness. He watched her intently, every fiber of his being focused, his young face etched with a profound, almost adult, concern. As she finally stirred, a sign of life, he continued his gentle ministrations, ensuring her comfort with unwavering dedication. His gaze remained fixed on her, a silent, powerful promise of unwavering support burning in his eyes. He adjusted her blankets, a small, tender gesture that spoke volumes in a quiet, tense room. Then, her voice, weak but surprisingly clear, cut through the silence, asking if he was finally going to school. He offered a simple, almost wistful reply, a hint of something deeper in his tone, that he was just having fun. A moment of profound, unspoken understanding passed between them, her recovering gaze locking with his steady, determined one. The scene then shifted dramatically, a sudden, jarring change, to a bustling city street, absolutely alive with the vibrant energy of daily life under a warm, setting sun. Lost in the market's chaos, a young boy stands with a girl, her eyes fixed on whatever he's holding. But his focus is elsewhere, locked onto a stunning pile of fresh, red apples, a beacon of perfection in a tough world. The girl, now with a friend, keeps checking out the market, totally unaware of the heavy thoughts swirling in his mind. To him, the world was a brutal place, where everyone just trashed everything for their own gain. He flashes back to a rotten apple, a symbol of deep pain, asking himself why Youngshil always got the short end of the stick. His young eyes, burning with quiet determination, show just how much that memory still hits him. And now he's sitting there, reaching for the very apples that once brought so much trouble. His tiny hand softly grazes the fruit's smooth, red skin. Then he glances up at the vendor, asking, "What's the damage?" He stares intently at the guy, waiting for an answer. The vendor just bites into his own apple, dropping the bomb, "Pricey." Suddenly, we're in a buzzing city street, a clear sign of a world where everyone's one of a kind, and society's got rules to keep the peace and stop things from going wild. Young Jian's gaze is intense, almost chilling. He's reliving a moment, a dark memory where he shattered the only thing he could, and a feeling. It was good. Seriously messed up. Then, his mind cuts to a single, brutal word, murder. Talk about a dark turn. Those piercing blue eyes, wide open, reveal the sheer chaos inside him, as this intense memory keeps playing out. Flashback. A younger giant is on the floor, food in hand, as a shadowy figure stands over him, dropping a chilling line, "I planned to visit earlier, but I wanted to watch you. I wanted to see how a monster grew up." We get a tight shot of the man's mouth, a creepy, subtle smile playing on his lips, his words just oozing with dark curiosity. Suddenly, young Jian is surrounded by a group of adults, an unnamed man one steps forward, hitting him with a brutal question, "Why are you pretending to be human?" Ouch. The kid's face just crumbles, his eyes fixed on the floor, totally unable to handle those judging looks. Unnamed man one just watches, a smug smirk on his face, looking totally satisfied with the kid's reaction. Under a dramatic, cloudy sky, unnamed man one's voice rings out, "Take him." And just like that, the other adults close in, completely swarming the terrified kid. His tiny hands are then forced together, the harsh click of handcuffs sealing his fate. Trapped and outnumbered, the kid is completely surrounded by a squad of serious-looking adults, the tension in the room practically suffocating. One of the agents, with a stone-cold gaze, scrutinizes the kid, a chilling barely audible. Then, the man drops the bombshell, demanding if the kid is seriously okay with this situation, especially since he's now officially being investigated for espionage. The sheer gravity of the espionage charge hits Giant hard, but his eyes betray only a chilling, almost unnerving composure. The man's voice cuts through the silence, delivering a sinister warning: if you're a spy. He doesn't even need to finish the sentence, immediately pivoting to a brutal, personal threat, declaring that his mom would be killed right along with him. A twisted grin spreads across the man's face, as he casually drops the bomb that they've already dispatched agents to snatch her. A barely there tremor shakes Giant's eye, a raw, primal fear finally cracking his icy composure. The interrogator keeps twisting the knife, describing his mom's failing health and how she can barely eat, then sneers that espionage sounds pretty rough for someone so vulnerable. But as the brutal threats rain down, Giant's mind drifts, his gaze fixed on a breathtaking, star-dusted sky, a desperate mental escape from the nightmare unfolding around him. The man's voice brutally shatters the peaceful moment, a harsh, cutting kid, ripping him back to reality. He keeps pushing, his voice dripping with sarcastic disbelief, demanding to know why the kid even bothered coming, then mockingly tells him to just stay put. The interrogation was relentless, the man's voice cutting through the air, hammering Giant with the same question about his mother, over and over. Then, out of nowhere, a heavy foot slammed down, a sickening "jiak" sound ripping through the air. It wasn't just the ground, it was a small, glowing blue orb, crushed instantly, exploding into a dazzling shower of light. But the man didn't even flinch, his voice cold and unwavering, repeating the chilling question about Giant's mother. But for Giant, everything changed. The impact sent him spiraling, his body twisting as he plunged into a chaotic, warping void. Down, down he went, the world around him a dizzying blur of speed and color. A choked cry tore from his throat, his mind screaming, "What?" as reality shattered around him. His face twisted into a silent scream, his eyes burning with raw pain and terror. But just as despair threatened to consume him, a spark ignited in his eyes, a fierce, unyielding determination beginning to take hold. He was still plummeting through the chaos, but now, something inside him was fighting back, refusing to break. His eyes, now blazing with fierce intensity, were a window into the epic internal battle raging within the maelstrom. Meanwhile, back in the interrogation room, unnamed man 1 was practically screaming at Giant, while his partner just stood there, completely dumbfounded by what was happening. The interrogator was absolutely floored, staring at the kid with a look of pure disbelief. He just couldn't wrap his head around what was happening. His eyes, practically bugging out of his head, were trying to compute the kid's insane response to the orb getting smashed. He just mumbled, almost to himself, that this kid was a total monster, something he just couldn't figure out. He spun around, his brain going 1,000,000 miles an hour, trying to make sense of the kid's power, but he had no idea just how badly he'd messed up his calculations. But Giant? He was absolutely blazing, engulfed in a golden light, feeling this insane power as he sprinted through the warped reality, his whole body just radiating pure determination. That guy calling him a monster. Those words just bounced around in his head, but instead of fear, they ignited a fire. They had totally, utterly underestimated him. The whole world around him was just ripping apart, showing off the insane power that was bubbling up inside him. He just kept plummeting through the crazy void, his tiny body a defiant beacon in the middle of all that wild energy. A fierce, unyielding resolve burned in his eyes, now glowing with an intense, otherworldly blue light. As he finally got it, he could literally become anything he wanted, and that day, his real adventure kicked off. Above a serene, cloud-dappled sky. A sprawling city stretched out beneath, its buildings reaching for the horizon, a testament to human endeavor. From a high vantage point, a lone figure in a dark hoodie gazed down upon the urban landscape, lost in thought. He pondered the fundamental truth that humans, despite their inherent physical weakness, had risen to become the center of the world. Walking through a bustling crowd, the young man, Giant, remained an island of contemplation, his gaze distant. The answer, he knew, lay in a single, profound concept: language itself. This unique form of communication had allowed humanity to forge groups and develop civilization, advancing faster than any other species. A faint blue glow emanated from his eyes as he reflected, remembering how he, too, had come to understand their language. A gentle smile graced the face of Lee Jian, his sister, in his memory, a reminder of a past he could never forget. The thought lingered, a profound question hanging in the air: was this gift of language truly a blessing? In a poignant flashback, a younger Lee Jian looked on with concern, while a child Jian, with wide, innocent eyes, stared ahead, perhaps already burdened by the weight of understanding. He closes his eyes, deep in thought, questioning everything. Is this power a blessing, or is it actually a curse? Back then, it was just a memory, as a younger Giant's bare feet hit the sun-drenched path, moving from soft earth to cool, shallow water. Every step sends a splash, the water dancing around his ankles. He's tearing through the vibrant green forest, his playful splashing echoing everywhere. The path bursts open to a massive, sun-drenched coast, the ocean stretching forever under a perfect sky. His little legs are pumping, going even faster, kicking up huge sprays of water as he flies along the shoreline. Then, he trips, his body plunging into the water with a massive splash. A shocked cry rips from him, his hand instinctively reaching out as the water swallows him whole. He scrambles back to shore, then turns, his eyes going wide with pure horror at the sight of his sister, Lee Jian, fighting for her life in the churning water. He drops to his knees on the wet sand, a look of absolute despair frozen on his young face as he can only watch. Light glints off a hand, submerged in the water, a chilling, silent testament to the tragedy unfolding. He's going down, fast. The world's a blur of green and brown as he slams into the water, a massive splash erupting around him. The impact sends shockwaves across the surface, and he's gone, pulled under into the murky depths. Just disturbed water for a second, then the surface calms, like nothing ever happened. But underwater, his dark hair is just floating, his small body trapped in the cold, dark water. And his eyes, man, they're wide open, glowing with this crazy blue light, staring into the watery darkness, a silent scream in their depths. The flashback ends, replaced by the endless sky. Fast forward. Outside some random building, a voice cuts through the air, asking, "Are you okay?" An older giant is just chilling on a bench, cigarette in hand, totally zoned out, not saying a word. Another guy sits down, totally shocked, like, what? He saw Giant getting chewed out by the chief. Giant's on the phone now, listening hard, and his face is just screaming, trouble. His buddy keeps going, like, it's so weird. A 17-year-old is the chief. And get this, he used to work for them when he was just a kid. Giant just stays quiet, staring off into space, the past and present crushing him with their weight. The word was out, the chief had chewed him out about his position, and Giant just took it in stride. The older man's stare was piercing, but Giant didn't flinch, just held his ground. But then, the inevitable, blunt question, why? His face was a mask, a silent battle with his own history. He lit a cigarette, the smoke curling around his confession, because I was scared. The cherry of the cigarette burned bright, a tiny beacon in the shadows. Meanwhile, as the sun dipped low, a serene, traditional house basked in the golden light. Two figures closed in, one questioning if they'd found it, the other confidently stating, yeah, this should be the place. The leader gave the order, a chilling, drag her out, and his crew immediately affirmed, okay. High above, a lone shadow silently observed the entire scene, a hidden witness to the impending chaos. A new crew rolls up on a traditional house, their leader scoping out the place with some serious intensity. While one of his guys shouts out, trying to see if anyone's home. Meanwhile, inside, Young Shil and some tough guy are looking up, totally freaked out by a tiny figure just dropping from the sky, screaming all the way down. The rest of the guys outside are also craning their necks up, their faces going from ready to fight to totally baffled. Then, with a massive thud, the figure slams into the courtyard, kicking up a huge cloud of dust and debris. Young Shil and the thug inside are just like, WHOA, totally blown away by this crazy, out-of-nowhere landing. The little guy, Jian, bounces back from that crash landing super fast, getting right back on his feet. His eyes dart around, and you can see this faint blue glow in one of them, a quiet sign that he's anything but normal. The guys around him are just gaping, totally confused, with one of them blurting out, where the heck did he even come from? Young Shil and the thug inside totally recognize him, and the thug starts wondering if this is the kid they're after. Jian, looking totally wiped out and confused, just stares blankly forward. The thug keeps talking, dropping hints about some Chief Kim being involved, but Jian just stays quiet, his face giving nothing away. He stands, a lone figure amidst the wreckage, a chilling red glow pulsing from his eye, as the last conscious thug can only gape in utter disbelief at the sheer power of this kid. His mind scrambles, trying to process the impossible, the sudden, brutal turn of events that just unfolded. Meanwhile, inside the house, Young Shil's eyes snap open, a jolt of recognition flashing across her face. The remaining thugs outside can only stare down at their fallen comrades, their faces a chaotic mix of shock and utter confusion. One of them clenches his fist, the tension in the air so thick you could cut it with a knife. Then, a soft, ominous creak breaks the silence as the door to the traditional house slowly, deliberately, swings open. Jian, sensing the shift, turns his head, his piercing gaze locking onto the newly opened doorway. Young Shil, her face a mask of disbelief, peers out from the doorway, a sharp gasp tearing from her throat. The remaining thugs watch, their eyes glued to the house, wondering what new chaos is about to unfold. Jian's face remains a stone-cold enigma, his stare unwavering as he holds her gaze. And then, a name, a mere whisper, escapes Young Shil's lips, confirming the impossible. The two thugs standing closest exchange a look of absolute, jaw-dropping shock, their faces screaming the revelation they just heard. The dust settled, and the kid, Jian, was just standing there, surrounded by all the guys he'd just taken down. Meanwhile, Oh Youngshil was still reeling from recognizing him. But the other guys weren't giving up. One of them, trying to act tough, was like, "Hey, we're just following orders here," while his buddy just stared, totally freaked out. Then the suit guy, trying to sound all calm, told Jian, "Alright, just follow us." Like that was going to work after what just happened. But inside the house, Oh Youngshil was not having it. She burst out, yelling, "What do you think you're doing?" She was furious. Her shout echoed, making the remaining thugs panic. One of them yelled, "F***CK. Better run," while Jian just stood there, taking it all in. But before she could do anything else, one of the goons grabbed her arm, a nasty grin spreading across his face as he held her tight. Her face contorted in pure terror, but his grip was like iron. A desperate gasp tore from her throat, her fight getting even more frantic. She screamed, "Everyone," and that's when Jian snapped. His eyes flashed a terrifying red, a silent rage exploding as the thug holding her yelled about being left behind. But the idiot holding her didn't even notice Jian's power-up. He just kept on taunting her, his words dripping with pure evil. She fought back with everything she had, her voice raw as she screamed for him to let go, her fear morphing into pure, unadulterated fury. With one last, desperate plea, she shrieked, "Everyone," her face a mask of terror and utter desperation. One of the thugs, his face twisted in suspicion, screams about her being a spy, wondering if it was all an act, while his partner just stands there, stunned. But Oh Youngshil, still trapped, lets out a desperate plea, begging for anyone to help her. Her voice cracks, barely able to get a word out. The thug holding her brutally cuts her off, snarling at her to shut up. But the other guy, the one with the messy hair, is locked in place, his blue eye wide with pure, unadulterated shock. A terrifying thought hits him, realizing no words could ever capture the sheer terror he's experiencing. His hand starts shaking like crazy, a clear sign of the absolute chaos inside him. His jaw locks up, trying to hold it all together, but failing. A wave of pure dread hits him, sending shivers down his spine. Oh Youngshil is now sprawled on the ground, as the messy-haired thug looms over her, his face a mask of something dark. He stares down at her, his mind a chaotic storm of fear and rage. And beneath them, the very earth has shattered, cracked and broken from the sheer force that just erupted. And just like that, everything changed. A terrifying internal shift began, as if he was abandoning his very essence. Making way for a monstrous, shadowy visage that pulsed with dark blue energy, ready to unleash chaos. His sanity shattered, a sharp, audible snap echoing as his eye flared with an eerie blue light, signaling a complete break. A torrent of uncontrolled power erupted, blurring the very fabric of reality around him in a blinding flash. And then, a hand reached out from the edge of a precipice, bathed in the bright, cloudy sky, a silent testament to the chaos. Below, the unnamed man's face contorted in sheer terror, his eyes wide with disbelief at the unfolding horror, utterly paralyzed. Oh Youngshil, too, was gripped by fear, a fresh wound bleeding on her forehead as she stared in shock, utterly helpless. The protagonist's hand, now glowing with an intense blue energy, reached out, a beacon of his unleashed, devastating power. Li Jian's face was a mask of pure terror, her eyes wide and fixed on something unseen, her body trembling, utterly overwhelmed. Around him, numerous figures lay broken and bleeding on the ground, their forms scattered like discarded dolls, as the young protagonist stood amidst the utter devastation, a true force of nature. He stood directly over Li Jian, who lay prone and terrified among the other fallen, a testament to the sheer, overwhelming power he had just unleashed. The unnamed man, his eye wide with horror, could only whisper her name, Jian, as her terrified reflection stared back from his pupil, utterly speechless. That wide, blue eye, stained with blood, tells a story of pure, unadulterated terror. He's seen something, or done something, that's shattered his world. And then there's her. Her face is a canvas of absolute, gut-wrenching fear, tears just pouring out as she stares at the horror unfolding. They're completely isolated, just two tiny figures in a vast emptiness, and her voice is barely a sound, a single, broken gasp of "Ah." That echoes the desolation. Her anguish is just crushing as she screams again, and his own wide, blue eye mirrors that exact same, soul-crushing pain. Then, the chilling truth hits him like a truck, a gut-punching internal monologue, "I did it again. The horror is real." Suddenly, a harsh, grinding screech rips through the air, as a heavy vehicle slams to a stop, tearing up the earth. He's standing there, in the middle of a wasteland, surrounded by bodies, a military jeep behind him, and he just lets out this insane, broken scream, a mix of ah and pure ah. It's chilling. A sinister grin spreads across one man's face as he takes it all in, with another furious face lurking right behind him, both radiating pure menace. His face is absolutely drenched in blood, a brutal testament to the carnage, and that wide, blue eye is still screaming with the raw trauma of it all. While the boy just stands there, surrounded by the defeated, the man points a furious, accusing finger, his voice dripping with pure hatred. What did I tell you? I told you he's a monster. The condemnation is deafening. His wide, blue eye is still locked in that 1,000-yard stare, while the man's face twists into a mask of pure terror and disgust, spitting out the word, monster. And the girl, absolutely petrified, screams, don't go easy on him. The tension is unbearable. A blood-soaked hand clenches into a desperate fist, as a voice, filled with absolute horror, screams, did you see what he did to them? The aftermath is brutal. The chaos is too much. Jaehyun's older sister, Lee Jaehyun, is reaching out, her mind screaming one thing. She's right there, hovering over him, and he's looking up, eyes wide and full of tears. His voice just shatters as he screams, I killed them. Lee Jaehyun is dragging him away from this nightmare, her own desperate cry joining his, take me away. But the guilt is just eating him alive, he keeps repeating, broken, I did it. I killed them. His sister's face is twisted in a primal scream of denial, her voice tearing as she shouts, my kid did nothing wrong. But Jaehyun is just broken, totally inconsolable, his conviction absolute, it's all my fault. And the men who saw it all. They're just standing there, grim and silent, their faces a mix of pure shock and heavy judgment. And somewhere else, Oh Youngshil, who couldn't even utter a word, is letting out a primal, gut-wrenching scream of pure agony. Back to the boy, tears are just pouring down his face as he whispers, why? Then, a sudden flashback. A younger Jaehyun and a young Youngshil, standing in a field of white flowers, with a simple question echoing, why do you fight? And then, a close-up of a smiling child Youngshil, a flower behind her ear, a heartbreaking contrast to the absolute despair of the present. His mind flashes back to the past, a younger him, eyes wide, a raw power just beginning to stir within. The memory hits hard, a desperate grip on something unseen, his small hand, drenched in blood, clenching tight with a sickening kwaak sound. Then, the raw anguish of another, a woman's face twisted into a silent, gut-wrenching scream, pure terror etched into every feature. Tears cascade down her face, a silent, heartbreaking testament to the horror she just endured. The young boy, his own eyes overflowing with tears, lets out a desperate, heart-wrenching cry, I do it to protect you. A man's face twists in pure agony, a chilling confession tearing from his throat, I killed them. Bloodied and broken, a child's desperate cry pierces the air, my son did nothing wrong. A woman's face, a mask of terror and guilt, lets out a gut-wrenching scream, I did it. Amidst the carnage, young Jaehyun lies broken, his tiny hands reaching out, a desperate, repeated plea escaping his lips, take me. Take me. Oh Youngshil, consumed by despair, screams her confession again, I did it. Then, a terrifying power awakens. Dark purple energy explodes around Jaehyun, his eyes blazing with an infernal red glow as he's overwhelmed by an unknown force, a raw, untamed power erupting from within. The scene shifts, as Unnamed Man 1 stands with Unnamed Man 2, before Unnamed Man 1 casts his gaze downward, burdened by an unspoken weight, a silent despair etched on his face. Oh Youngshil desperately clutches the injured Jaehyun, holding him tight against her, a desperate embrace in the face of tragedy. Jaehyun's small frame is racked with sobs, his face a canvas of blood and tears, his young heart shattered by the events. Unnamed Man 1 looks down, a silent, heavy moment passing between him and Jaehyun, who stares up with tear-filled eyes, a profound, unspoken understanding passing between them. Picking up right where the terror left off, a dark-haired man is locked and loaded, pistol aimed, his chilling words cutting through the air like a knife. But facing down that barrel is Lee Jaehyun, a young woman screaming her lungs out, her hands thrown up in a desperate, last-ditch plea. That cold, metallic gun barrel is all she can see, a terrifying, inescapable reality. His face is a mask of grim determination, finger hovering, ready to pull the trigger. Then, a chilling declaration rings out, and the moment's fate is sealed. Lee Jaehyun's eyes are wide with sheer terror, a mirror to the nightmare unfolding around her. Then, a sudden, sharp crack echoes, ripping through the silence like a thunderclap. Birds explode from the trees, their panicked flight a clear sign of the chaos that just erupted. Tears are now freely streaming down Lee Jaehyun's face, her expression a raw mix of pain and utter despair. A dark, ugly bruise blooms on her arm, a brutal testament to the violence she's just suffered. Yet, she still screams out a name, a desperate, heart-wrenching plea, her voice cracking with raw urgency. And as her cry echoes, the young Jaehyun snaps his head up, his eyes now blazing with an ominous, crimson glow, his power awakening to a whole new level. The bald man, absolutely seething, points his gun directly at the girl, screaming out a terrifying order. His messy-haired subordinate, on the other hand, just lets out this insane, chilling laugh, like he knew this was coming all along. The bald man's gaze locks onto her, his voice cutting through the air as he confirms, it's the girl. And his subordinate, just as hyped up, screams the order, shoot the girl. But then, the messy-haired guy actually hesitates for a second, asking, wait, if they're not resisting, should we really? His boss immediately shuts him down with a furious yell, like, are you serious? Do you not get what's happening right now? The bald man's eyes flick to the bloody corpse on the floor, a chilling thought flashing through his mind, are we going to end up like them? But as all this chaos erupts, Little Giant is watching, and suddenly, his eyes just explode with a terrifying crimson glow, a silent attack echoing his raw, unleashed power. Completely oblivious to the power about to unleash, the bald man screams another order, making it crystal clear, this is an order. No more talking, no more hesitation. The men raise their guns, and a hail of bullets just rips through the air towards the helpless girl. Giant's eyes are locked on, his glowing gaze burning with an intensity that promises retribution. And as the bullets fly, Lee Jian can only squeeze her eyes shut, tears pouring down her face in absolute, heartbreaking despair. The air explodes with gunfire, a deafening roar as bullets rip through the very fabric of reality. Then, a blinding blur of motion, a sharp, metallic clang that could only mean one thing, an impossible defense or a lightning-fast counter. But through the chaos, he lifts his head, his eyes burning with an unshakable resolve. He knew, deep down, what had to be done, a silent, burning vow igniting his spirit. Just meters away, Lee Jian screams in pure terror, her hands thrown up in a desperate, futile gesture against the encroaching nightmare. For him, every single breath, every agonizing moment of his life, had been building to this. Every struggle, every lesson, every sacrifice, all for this one, defining moment. And then, his eye explodes with an intense, electric blue light, black, feather-like particles erupting around it, a terrifying new power awakening within him. The blue energy rages, a faint trickle of blood staining the corner of his eye, a brutal testament to the sheer, raw power he's unleashing. The black, ethereal feathers whip into a frenzy, forming an impenetrable vortex of shimmering blue energy, ready to tear through anything. When the dust clears, he stands alone, untouched, a silent sentinel amidst the broken bodies and spent casings, his power pushed to its absolute limit. But victory comes at a price, his hand, slick with blood, a brutal trophy of the power he just unleashed. And behind him, Lee Jian, still sobbing, is now shielded by a shimmering, white barrier that cracks and shatters around her, a desperate, last-ditch defense that held. He hits the dirt, a raw, primal scream tearing from his throat as the sheer force of it all threatens to rip him apart. But deep within the storm, a spark ignites, a defiant whisper screaming, perfect, and, I can do this. He's not breaking, he's building. Then, his eyes blaze open, searing electric blue, and dark, feather-like energy explodes around him, a raw power unleashed just as some poor fool screams at him to stay on your toes. Too late, pal. In a blur, he snatches a bullet right out of the air, the slug deforming against his bleeding palm with a sickening crunch. His blue aura and dark energy explode outwards, ripping through the enemy ranks, leaving a trail of broken bodies in his devastating wake. His electric blue eye locks onto a target, a chilling armadillo hisses from his lips as another shot rings out. A bullet screams towards Lee Jian, but just before impact, a shimmering, invisible shield erupts, batting the lethal round away. The culprit is caught in the act, a revolver spitting fire once again, its muzzle flash momentarily blinding. The two lead thugs, the messy-haired one and the bob-cut guy, plus their entire crew, are utterly floored, their faces frozen in pure, unadulterated shock. He spins around, reaching out to Lee Jian, who's caught between terror and absolute wonder. He stands, a silent, bloodied protector, his body screaming the price of his new strength, his shirt soaked as he shields her from any further threat. The brutal toll is undeniable, his hand dripping crimson, a dark, expanding stain on his chest. His eye is absolutely blazing with electric blue energy, blood splattering across his face, showing the sheer, raw power coursing through him. The guy with the bob-like hair is just staring, a grimace of pure disbelief twisting his face. What are you all doing? He screams, pure panic in his voice, he's still shooting. Keep shooting. Pure desperation takes over as he keeps screaming, shoot him, you idiots. I'll do whatever you want. And one of his goons, the messy-haired guy, just grunts back, yeah. But then, the kid just stands there, surrounded by a swirling blue aura, bloodied but totally resolute, with bodies of his enemies just strewn all over the ground. His glowing eye shows the harsh truth, a silent admission that he had absolutely no choice but to unleash this insane power. He looks up, blood still streaking his face, jaw clenched, a fierce resolve burning in his eyes as he declares, one more time. Then, a blinding light just explodes from where he stands, radiating outwards from the very ground itself. He moves with lightning speed, throwing himself right over Lee Jian, using his own body as a shield. His bloodied hand gently, but firmly, covers her head, a silent, powerful promise of protection. Jian's power absolutely rocks the bob-haired dude, sending him flying with a guttural cry, and Lee Jian is just screaming, her hand thrown up, totally overwhelmed by the sheer force. She's completely swamped by the raw energy, barely able to get out a desperate plea, her hands shaking, her eye blown wide with pure terror and shock. But then, a comforting hand grabs hers, and a voice, totally strained but still solid, whispers, "It's all right." A lone tear rolls down her face, cutting through the blood spatter, a brutal reminder of the danger they just survived, and the insane price he paid to save her. Jayan, even though he's clearly hurt, steps right in front of her, his small frame becoming an absolute wall against any more danger. His eyes, burning with pain, are locked onto her, his face absolutely covered in blood from pushing his power to the max. The price of his power is carved right into his face, a brutal reminder of the sacrifice he just pulled off. His hair, still crackling with leftover energy, frames a face twisted in pure agony, but his determination is still absolutely unbreakable. He's standing over the totally defeated bad guy, who's out cold on the ground. The fight is finally over. The insane strain of his power is still absolutely wrecking his body, forcing him into a desperate fight just to stay awake. His eyes snap shut, his face a total mask of exhaustion, the whole world is about to go black. But then, with a sudden, sharp gasp, his eyes burst open, a raw scream tearing from his throat as he battles against going completely under. His hand, still trembling from the raw power, is caked in blood and grime. But he fights to keep it together, his eyes wide with the sheer, brutal aftermath of the fight. A choked sob rips from the girl he just saved, her face a mess of bruises and tears, as his hand tenderly cups her cheek. She shuts her eyes tight, the raw horror of it all still too much to bear. The trauma is burned into her very being, a brutal split between her innocent past and a terrifying present. His hand, still shaking, is a silent, brutal reminder of everything he just went through. A lone tear streaks down her neck, a silent, crushing wave of emotion finally breaking free. Then, the sheer, brutal cost hits him, and he crashes to the ground, his body utterly spent, the girl still clinging to his side. The defeated men are still out cold nearby, a chilling reminder of the brutal fight that just ended. The immediate danger is gone, and the world outside slowly comes back into focus, with birds soaring high against a stunning sky. Huge flocks fill the air, their freedom a stark, beautiful contrast to the terror that just gripped them. And as the last echoes of the battle vanish, a swirling vortex of energy dissolves into nothingness, leaving behind only an eerie calm. Her eye slowly opens, trying to make sense of the blinding, white aftermath of the battle. Standing amidst the eerie quiet, she can only manage a bewildered, huh? The world around her feels utterly surreal, making her wonder, what is this? Is this heaven? Her face is a mask of bewildered uncertainty, her eyes wide and distant. Then, her gaze snaps to the small, kneeling figure of Jayan, his head still bowed in exhaustion. A crushing wave of guilt hits her, and she chokes out, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do." Jayan, still reeling from the immense power, can only let out a raw, "Ah." Tears stream down her face as she cries out again, "I'm so sorry." His own tears begin to fall, and he chokes out a confession, "I'm sorry. It's all because of me." Looking up with a tear-streaked face, he lets out a heart-wrenching cry for his mother, Mom. Lee Jayan pulls him into a tight, comforting embrace, her voice soft as she reassures him, "It's all right." Still sobbing, he finds a moment of peace in her arms as she gently repeats, "It's all right." Lee Jayan is absolutely crushed, drowning in a sea of self-blame. She's convinced her very birth was a mistake, a cosmic punishment she's forced to endure. Dropping to her knees in utter defeat, she can barely hold herself together, completely overwhelmed. Then, a sudden flashback. A man leans on her as she softly promises, "Yeah. I'll see you soon." A lone tear streaks down her face, a stark reminder of the agony she carries. But then, her focus shifts to the little one in her arms, and she softly calls out, "Jayan," pulling him into a comforting hug. She gazes down at him, a tender look on her face, and makes a heartfelt request, her voice unwavering. A tiny, almost invisible smile flickers across her face, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. But Jayan is still utterly heartbroken, his eyes wide and overflowing with tears, a raw display of his suffering. Her resolve is unwavering, even with the crushing weight of their ordeal. A heartbreaking close-up shows his eye, a single, shimmering tear rolling down his face. The emotional intensity slowly recedes, as the focus pulls back from their raw vulnerability. And then, the camera pans up to a breathtaking sky, a canvas of soft clouds and a fiery sunset, hinting at a fragile peace after all the chaos. The past crashes back, showing a vulnerable Jayan sprawled on shattered earth, encircled by shadowy threats, as a chilling declaration cuts through the air, "No matter what happens." The scene shifts to Jayan's tear-soaked face, a desperate plea cutting through the tension, "Jayan, do me a favor." The armed enforcers loom, their collective menace palpable. The man with bob-like hair, his back to us, reiterates his chilling vow, "No matter what happens." His face contorts with fierce resolve, the words a heavy promise, "No matter what you need to do." A sudden, sharp intake of breath from the man with messy hair betrays his terror. The world holds its breath in a chilling pause. Then, the man with bob-like hair shifts his focus to Lee Jayan, who now radiates an otherworldly blue light from where she lies fallen. The blue energy intensifies, swirling like a protective aura, a powerful mist erupting from the very ground beneath her. A single tear escapes, but her voice rings with desperate conviction as Li Jian utters her ultimate command, "Please, live on." Her eye, now a beacon of radiant blue energy, mirrors the immense pain and sacrifice she endures, a raw, broken sob tearing through the silence. He was absolutely obsessed with Jian, his face twisted in a terrifying grimace, a man consumed by a single, burning fixation. And with a wild imagination, his motives became crystal clear, as he faced down a silent, judging crowd, their forms blurred but their condemnation sharp. It was all about pure, unadulterated pride, a crushing weight, yet his feet stayed rooted, defiant. A fierce blue aura pulsed around Jian, his face etched with raw distress, as if the crushing weight of that pride, and the terror it unleashed, was absolutely suffocating him. Humans boast about understanding the world, but they absolutely freak out over what they don't get, and a gentle hand reached out, maybe to save him, to yank him from the abyss of his despair. That's why, with a burning intensity in his eyes, he had tried to end it all, to wipe out the very source of his fear and the perceived threat. Meanwhile, another young face, covered in grime and tears, showed the brutal cost of these desperate actions, her eyes screaming with pain and exhaustion. The aftermath hits hard, a single tear escaping Jian's eye as Li Jian lies wounded in the background. He's torn, battling an inner demon, screaming inside, "I can't coexist with humans." But a powerful, undeniable force screams back, "Live." The brutal reality of their world is laid bare, Li Jian's leg scarred and bleeding, a testament to the danger. The chilling truth dawns on Jian, "I might hurt or kill another human." Yet, a tender moment of solidarity, as he stands by Li Jian, their hands intertwined, a silent vow exchanged. His face contorts in anguish, tears streaming down, a desperate whisper escaping him, "Just." Even Li Jian, in her quiet suffering, seems to echo that same fierce command. He drops to her side, her injured form a crushing weight on his young shoulders. Blood and tears mix on his face, a raw display of his pain and fury. But then, a switch flips. His eyes snap open, burning with an unshakable resolve. The declaration rings out, a promise to himself and to her. Reeling from the brutal sight of Li Jian's injuries, he drops to his knees beside her, the two menacing figures of their attackers looming nearby. His eyes locking onto her unconscious form, a silent, burning vow ignites within him, no matter what happens to him. He makes a fierce resolution, no matter what it takes, he will protect her. Her still, injured face is a brutal catalyst, igniting an unshakable resolve within him. A fierce, unyielding determination carves itself onto his face, as a primal roar erupts from his soul, alive. Tears of grief and iron resolve stream down his face, as he locks in his decision, no turning back. Then, in a flash of unseen power, the two menacing figures and their crew are suddenly down, defeated. Jian now stands, a guardian over Li Jian. His eyes ignite with an intense, electric blue glow, a terrifying surge of awakened power. One of the defeated men, somehow back on his feet, stares in utter disbelief, shouting, "What are you doing?" But Jian ignores the shouts, scooping up Li Jian and bolting, the two men scrambling to chase him down, yelling commands. The man with the bob-like hair, his face twisted into a furious snarl, screams that this is their final shot, convinced Jian is still vulnerable. But Jian, clutching his precious cargo, makes a desperate leap, a high-stakes escape against the imposing backdrop of a colossal, golden wall. The world is a blur of speed, a desperate escape tearing through the twilight. The sun bleeds across the horizon, a fiery spectacle against the looming mountains. But the escape shatters. A car wheel spins wildly as Jian stares up, his face a mask of grim determination. The vehicle is a twisted wreck, flipped violently amidst a sea of golden blooms. The peaceful flowers mock the brutal devastation of the crash. And from the wreckage, Li Jian is thrown, her body tumbling helplessly. A blinding, explosive flash erupts, swallowing the entire scene. The world explodes into a chaotic, shimmering vortex of energy. Even the flowers are caught in the furious, streaking aftermath of the impact. But through the chaos, Jian's hand shoots out, desperate to reach Li Jian's unconscious form. No time to waste. He scoops her up, cradling her close as he sprints through the field. He carries her, a tiny, determined silhouette against the colossal, burning sun, pushing through the endless flowers, refusing to give up. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, a serene field of golden flowers hides a chilling pursuit, with a car closing in on the distant figures. Inside the pursuing vehicle, the driver's face twists into a menacing sneer, his words dripping with contempt for the desperate runaways. But the young hero, despite his exhaustion, pushes onward through the vibrant field, his precious cargo held tight as the relentless pursuers loom ever closer. A chilling, triumphant laugh erupts from the driver, his taunts cutting through the air as he revels in their misery. Leaning out, his voice laced with pure venom, he screams a challenge, daring them to keep running, to try and escape his grasp. But the boy's face, etched with grime and resolve, remains unyielding, his spirit unbroken despite the relentless chase. Down the dusty road he goes, his every step fueled by a fierce protective instinct, a silent promise to his mother that he'll keep the girls safe, no matter the cost. But the immense pressure, the sheer terror of their situation, finally breaks him, sending him to his knees, his face hidden in despair as the tears begin to fall. The lead pursuer, flanked by his two grim associates, observes the boy's breakdown with cold, calculating eyes, a single, chilling word escaping his lips. Lost in a maelstrom of guilt, the boy's mind is a torment of flashing images, the faces of his past victims screaming in his memory. The relentless pursuer twists the knife, his words a cruel reminder, pointing out the universal truth that even his victims had mothers who cared. Still broken, the boy remains a crumpled heap, his hands desperately clinging to his face, the crushing weight of that realization threatening to consume him entirely. He grapples with a profound realization, there must be someone out there who loves him, and someone he loves in return. His electric blue eyes ignite with a desperate intensity, a silent scream echoing his internal turmoil, just like me. A solitary tear escapes, a stark testament to the raw emotion tearing through him. Meanwhile, from afar, the man with the messy hair can't help but mock, a cruel smirk twisting his features, "Wow, for a kid, you talk pretty well." But Jian's focus remains internal, his hand clenching into a white-knuckled fist as the crushing weight of his actions hits him. "I understand clearly that I've done something wrong." The man with the messy hair simply raises an eyebrow, a silent, mocking question hanging in the tense air. Suddenly, Jian's voice cuts through the silence, his form kneeling amidst a desolate, bone-strewn wasteland. "That applies to you too." He presses on, his gaze unwavering on the grim scene. "You kill without remorse." The boy's accusation hangs heavy in the air, a chilling indictment. "You destroy." His face contorts in raw anguish, his blue eyes flaring with intense power as he delivers the final, devastating blow. "And you mess up everything." The pursuers are absolutely floored. The man with the messy hair clutches his gun, his face a mask of disbelief. "What did that kid say?" But Jian, with a look of sorrowful resolve, simply stares up at them. "I've always questioned it." Still reeling from his past lives, the kid can't help but question why he keeps getting reborn, like, what's the deal? But while he's having this existential crisis, the dudes chasing him are just chilling above, totally clueless about the storm brewing inside him. But as his thoughts get darker, the ground itself starts to crack and rumble, hinting at the insane power about to explode. He looks up, a new question burning in his eyes. Why was he even given these crazy powers in the first place? Then, it hits him like a truck. His eyes blaze with an electric blue, cracks spread across his skin, and suddenly, everything makes sense. That blue energy goes wild, surging through him, making his hand glow and crackle, and he can barely get the words out, but he's got it. Then, boom. A massive power surge erupts, shattering the ground as he stands there, glowing blue, cracks spreading, and he's calling out all the useless humans around him. His eyes are now blazing with an intense, icy blue determination, and he drops the ultimate bombshell. He was born to wipe out humanity. This kid is now a walking, glowing, cracking force of nature, radiating blue energy, with the ground literally breaking around him, a total nightmare come to life. Then, with an earth-shattering crack, the ground explodes, sending debris flying as that blue energy just goes wild, a total game-changer. A blinding, blue energy wave just rips through everything, absolutely obliterating the landscape, leaving pure destruction in its path. And one of the guys, his face twisted in pure terror, can only stare in disbelief as the kid's power goes full throttle, his cocky attitude instantly replaced by absolute panic. Pure, unadulterated terror grips the man's face, his eyes wide as the very earth beneath him begins to buckle and groan. A blinding surge of electric blue energy erupts from Jian's very being, his leg a conduit for untold destructive power, ready to unleash hell. High above, the kid becomes a terrifying, plummeting meteor of pure destruction, as the three men below can only gaze up in a mixture of absolute dread and stunned disbelief. He rockets through the atmosphere, a tiny, yet cataclysmic force, silhouetted against the burning sky, a harbinger of chaos. The earth-shattering impact unleashes a colossal shockwave, ripping through the very ground, sending dust and debris exploding skyward. His eyes blaze with an unholy, frigid blue light, the sheer, untamed power radiating from him warping reality itself around his face. The very foundations of the earth groan and crack, splintering under the unimaginable pressure of his cataclysmic descent. Another man, his face a mask of absolute, primal terror, lets out a guttural scream as the destructive force bears down upon them. The devastating force of the impact rips outwards, tearing through the very fabric of the earth with an unstoppable, relentless energy. A cataclysmic burst of electric blue energy detonates from the epicenter, pulverizing the ground into a million shards. A colossal cloud of dust and debris billows skyward, engulfing the entire landscape in a maelstrom of chaotic destruction. The dust settles, revealing a scene of utter devastation, a wrecked car, a field of flowers, and the eerie calm before the storm. But the tranquility is shattered by the sight of a bloodied, broken arm lying on the ground, a grim testament to the power unleashed. The serene sky above offers a stark contrast to the brutality on the ground, a silent witness to the unfolding tragedy. And then, the focus shifts to him, his face a mask of grim determination, his eyes burning with an unsettling calm. One of the men, battered and bleeding, struggles to speak, a chilling realization dawning on him. He knew this was coming, he was right all along. Jain, standing amidst the devastation he wrought, stares down at the broken man, a dark thought echoing in his mind, need to die. Another survivor, his face a mask of hatred and pain, screams at Jain, cursing him as a monster that should be wiped from existence. But Jain's face remains impassive, a chilling, almost casual agreement escaping him, yeah. He looms over the broken figure, a silent, terrifying testament to his power, the air thick with the weight of his presence. Then, with a voice devoid of emotion, he delivers a chilling ultimatum, you should have killed me. The second man's face contorts in pure terror, his eyes wide with a primal fear, the blood on his face a stark contrast to his pale skin. Jain looms over him, a silent, terrifying presence, as the man can only gasp out a bewildered sound, his fate hanging in the balance. With a clenched fist, a cold, hard resolve sets in, and he vows, for what you've done, all the humans in this world. His eyes blazing with an eerie blue power, he finishes his terrifying declaration, are just one of them. The man's face twists into a horrifying grimace of fear and pain, as Jain's chilling words pierce his very soul. His eye pulsing with raw, terrifying power, Jain unleashes his ultimate declaration, shall feel my wrath. Another victim screams, blood splattering his face, his body convulsing from the sheer terror and agony. His jaw unhinges in a primal scream, the horror etched into his blood-soaked features. A searing flash erupts, momentarily whitewashing the world, then the sky starts to bleed into twilight. The sun bleeds out, painting the horizon in fiery hues, and a final, chilling splatter of red hangs in the air, a grim testament to the chaos. The final embers of day vanish, leaving behind only the encroaching darkness and the metallic tang of battle. Then, night swallows everything, a heavy shroud falling over the land. Beneath the endless, inky blackness, the world seems to hold its breath, waiting. As the darkness deepens, a solitary figure strides away, his determined steps fading into the night, leaving the shattered aftermath in his wake. Under a vast, darkening sky, a lone figure pushes through an endless field of tall grass. His shoulders bearing the weight of another, a silent testament to his unwavering resolve. Jain carried Youngshil, pushing forward relentlessly, each step a battle against the crushing exhaustion. Her face, bruised and marked, a stark reminder of the danger they had just escaped. And as fatigue began to set in, his own expression mirrored the strain, his mind questioning if he could push on. Was it because he was tired? Then, amidst the crushing weariness, he began to hear familiar voices, whispers from a past that shouldn't have been accessible in this moment of crisis, voices he couldn't have. A montage of their shared journey and her gentle presence flashing through his mind. He saw her smiling face, a beacon of warmth from his memories. Her hand guiding his own small one. Then her expression shifting to one of concern. Her comforting touch of vivid sensation. These were the words he had heard dozens of times, echoing in his mind, urging him onward. The struggle intensifies, but a powerful memory cuts through the pain. Youngshil's serene, pale face, touched with a hint of red, flashes before his eyes, a silent, profound image. This isn't just a memory, it's a pivotal moment where Jain finally spoke his truth, and in that echo from the past. Under a dramatic, cloud-filled sky, her voice resonates with an emotional punch, a simple phrase that binds them together. The rhythmic thud of footsteps cuts through the silence. As a young boy, his gaze downcast, a bandage stark against his face, carries a heavy past. He flashes back to the precious years with his mom, their peaceful sleep a stark contrast to his current reality. Those fleeting moments, a mere blink, felt like an eternity compared to the millions of years he'd already survived. But that single, precious instant. It meant absolutely everything. Her gentle, loving face was his entire universe. He'd found an endless, overwhelming love he'd never even dreamed of before. Standing with her in a field of pure joy, he felt happiness beyond measure. The sky above, a breathtaking canvas of blue, seemed to hold their perfect world. But then, the crushing weight of reality hits. Now, only his own footsteps echo, a brutal reminder, his mom is gone. Standing on the cold, wet grass, the brutal truth hit him like a tidal wave, she was gone. Dead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, he bore the crushing weight of it all, convinced it was his fault, every single bit. A lone tear escaped, a silent testament to his agony, the gaping wound of her absence a constant ache, a pain so profound he questioned if he could even survive it. His tear-filled blue eye, a shimmering pool of sorrow, mirrored the endless, uncaring heavens. But then, a whisper from the past, her radiant smile a beacon, commanding him to live. He broke down, but her image held firm, a soothing balm, her peaceful face a stark, heartbreaking contrast to his raw, tearing grief. Her bare feet, once a steadfast anchor next to his, now hovered, ready to vanish. Then, with a soft, ethereal shimmer, her footsteps began to retreat, leaving ghostly ripples in the wet grass, as if she were dissolving into thin air. He gazed up at the boundless, vacant sky, a minuscule speck overwhelmed by the sheer scale of his heartbreak. The clouds rolled on, oblivious to his anguish, as he choked out a single, shattered word, Mom. A lone figure, a young boy, stands bathed in the golden glow of dawn, lost in thought amidst an endless field. Meanwhile, high above, where the snow meets the sky, a breathtaking winter wonderland stretches out. Deep in the frozen wilderness, a seasoned hunter, clad in heavy winter gear, meticulously surveys his surroundings, eyes sharp and ready. His trusty rifle, a masterpiece of precision, rests securely in his grip, a silent promise of what's to come. He takes a deep, controlled breath, raising his weapon with deadly precision, his prey locked in his sights. A majestic pheasant, completely oblivious to its impending doom, struts confidently through the pristine snow. But in a flash, just as the trigger finger twitches, the bird explodes into the air, its powerful wings carrying it to freedom, leaving the hunter empty-handed. A wry grin spreads across the hunter's face, a silent acknowledgement of the pheasant's cunning escape. Lowering his weapon with a satisfied, "There we go," his eyes suddenly widen in disbelief as he spots something utterly unexpected below, a stunned, "huh," echoing through the quiet forest. His eyes lock onto a tiny, vulnerable figure, a single, incredulous question forming in his mind, a kid? With eyes wide and filled with an unbearable sadness, the young giant stares up, utterly alone in the stark, frozen forest. Closing in on the lone child amidst the frozen wilderness, the hunter demands to know how the kid ended up in such a perilous place. But the kid, Jian, just stares back, his eyes holding a sorrow far too deep for someone so young. A dead pheasant, its blood stark against the snow, catches his eye, making him realize why he'd missed his shot earlier. What a trophy, the biggest he'd bagged in ages. Snapping back to reality, the hunter puts a hand on the kid's shoulder, and Jian just lets out a small, confused, "huh." A quick flash of blue energy pulses from the kid's tiny fist, a blink-and-you-miss-it detail that goes completely over the hunter's head. Still trying to piece things together, the hunter just grunts in contemplation. His expression shifts, and he asks the one question that matters, where are his parents? Jian looks so tiny and exposed against the harsh, frozen backdrop, his clothes barely holding together. His head drops, a crushing sadness visible on his youthful features. Next to the hunter, Jian finally breaks the silence, his voice a mere breath as he drops the devastating news. The hunter's jaw drops, the kid's words hitting him like a ton of bricks. The hunter, having just processed the devastating news, guides the young boy through the unforgiving, snow-covered terrain. While Jian, still reeling from his confession, keeps his gaze fixed on the ground, the harsh winter winds doing little to distract from his profound sadness. His silence speaks volumes. The hunter, noticing the boy's thin attire, turns with a worried expression, questioning how he's enduring the freezing temperatures. His eyes narrow at Jian's inappropriate clothing, and he can't help but voice his disbelief at the sight of a short-sleeved shirt in this blizzard. Jian's face, red from the biting wind, still carries that profound sorrow, leaving him unable to answer. Recognizing the boy's silent suffering, the hunter takes charge, declaring they'll go to his home, a faint "ah" from Jian confirming his understanding. His striking blue eyes, still clouded with sadness, and his wind-chapped face tell a story of hardship, yet a subtle shift in his expression hints at a glimmer of relief. The long trek unfolds, beneath an endless expanse of blue. Finally, they reach a cozy, traditional house, where an elderly woman, the hunter's mother, greets them at the door, her eyes widening in a mix of shock and joy as she cries out, her son's return. Without missing a beat, she chides her son for lingering in the freezing air, insisting he get indoors, her attention then shifting to the quiet boy at his side. Her caring nature shines through as she promptly tells Jian to clean up before dinner, playfully remarking on his scent. Moments later, a delicious spread of grilled oysters and kimchi appears, a welcoming feast, while the hunter quietly assents to his mother's instructions. The elderly woman, his mother, offers a warm smile, her voice gentle as she announces the soft pudding they are having today. The hunter, seated opposite, urges the quiet boy to eat, asking if he is hungry. Suddenly, a deep, resonant thud echoes through the house, making Jian's eyes widen as his gaze snaps upwards. Noticing his reaction, the hunter acknowledges the noise, remarking on its loudness. He explains that the mountain nearby is undergoing construction. Outside, a massive crane looms over the peak, a testament to the ongoing development. The hunter continues, mentioning their plans to sell all the land to these developers, adding that it's for a kid to live. Jian, still silent, simply stirs his food. The hunter hums thoughtfully. He flicks ash from his cigarette, dismissing the area as having nothing of value. The elderly woman, however, turns to Jian with a kind expression, suggesting they visit the village tomorrow. The hunter's voice cuts through the air, laying out Jian's future, declaring he needs a guardian and must go to school. But Jian? He's just a kid, totally zoned out, focused on devouring his food with loud chomps. The kind elderly woman keeps spoon-feeding him, as the hunter observes, a serious look etched on his features. His tiny hands clutch the chopsticks, but his thoughts are clearly a million miles away. Cheeks stuffed full, he's just a kid lost in his meal. Suddenly, the hunter cuts in, pointing a finger, demanding Jayan learn respect, not school lessons. Jayan's head snaps up, his eyes wide with a sudden jolt of realization. Night descends, painting the sky in deep hues, with wisps of clouds drifting by. Snow blankets the mountains in the distance, a solitary house bathed in moonlight below. Then, a blast from the past. A vintage photo reveals a younger Lee Jayan, their father, and a tiny baby Jayan, safe in his embrace. Another snapshot, the family united, Lee Jayan and their father beaming next to a slightly older Jayan. The last photo, a stark portrait of their father, a stern figure in a suit, his face a mystery. A haunting memory flashes, revealing a man in a sharp suit and an elderly woman, their faces etched with deep sadness. But then, the memory fades, replaced by the present, and a deep, rumbling snore echoes. The hunter is out cold, catching some serious Z's. And right next to him, the elderly woman is also in dreamland, her own snores adding to the peaceful, sleepy vibes. A quick glance at the bedside table shows old photos, silent witnesses to the past, while Jayan is also fast asleep, tucked away, the whole room filled with sleepy sounds. They're all piled up in the same bed, a cozy, sleepy trio just chilling through the night. A tiny, soft breath escapes someone, just adding to the super chill vibes of the sleeping house. Suddenly, in the middle of all that peace, Jayan's eyes snap open. He's wide awake, staring into the void with a seriously troubled look, while everyone else keeps snoring away. Up in the freezing, snow-covered mountains, a serene temple stood, a beacon of ancient tradition amidst the harsh winter. Just outside, a rugged hunter and an elderly woman stood, their eyes scanning the endless, snowy expanse. The biting cold hinting at the tough journey ahead, as the hunter muttered about the challenges they were about to face. Nearby, Jayan, a young boy, stood bundled up, his small frame looking almost lost against the massive snowdrifts. The hunter knelt down, a reassuring presence, telling the boy they could handle anything, even fold the obstacles, just like that. His words a quiet promise to the boy's worried expression. With a decisive nod, the hunter announced it was perfect, then motioned for Jayan, declaring, "Let's go." As they started to leave, Jayan looked back, shouting "Mother," a heartfelt promise that he'd return soon. The elderly woman watched them disappear, a poignant, silent farewell etched on her face. Jayan, now looking ahead, carried the weight of that farewell and his own resolve into the vast, snowy unknown. Their epic journey pressed on, the desolate, snow-covered landscape unfolding before them like a frozen challenge. Barren trees standing like silent sentinels, marking their relentless path through the endless, biting cold. He steals a glance back, a silent, poignant farewell to the life he'd left behind. The hunter, ever observant, notes Jayan's quiet demeanor, drawing a parallel to his mother's own reserved nature. Which elicits a sudden, wide-eyed gasp of disbelief from his young companion. With a gentle hand on Jayan's head, the hunter offers a comforting reassurance, urging him forward while promising to keep a watchful eye on his mother. A warm, knowing smile plays across the hunter's lips. But Jayan's quiet, stark declaration cuts through the moment, she simply cannot. He clarifies, revealing the poignant truth that his mother also struggles with her hearing. Prompting Jayan to look up, a direct question in his eyes, why continue to speak to someone who cannot hear? The hunter, with an enigmatic smile, simply states that she understands, regardless. He's all ears as the hunter, down on one knee, drops a bombshell, his mom gets his intentions, hearing or not. A deep thought hits him, you can practically see the gears turning in his head. The trek pushes on through a brutal, snowy wasteland, and now a freezing rain starts to pour down, making everything even worse. They keep pushing forward, barely a blur in this insane downpour. Then, the hunter drops the plan, find cover, ride out this wild storm. Sloshing through the icy mess, he doubles down, we're not moving until this rain stops. The sky just keeps dumping water, a relentless downpour hammering the desolate ground. Every single drop explodes on the frozen ground, turning the whole place into a muddy, icy mess. The ground's a total swamp now, just a grim reflection of the miserable sky. This endless rain just keeps coming, making every single step a death trap. Staring at the bizarre weather, the hunter can't help but ask, seriously, why is it raining like this in winter? The kid just stands there, staring up at the heavens, letting the freezing rain drench his face. The brutal winter rain just kept coming, absolutely hammering the desolate landscape. Every single drop of freezing, stinging hit on the muddy ground, making a wild symphony of splashes and an inescapable, bone-deep chill. The very ground seemed to scream under the downpour, turning into a thick, gooey mud that stuck to absolutely everything. Visibility was practically zero, the world a total blur of gray and brown, as the rain just poured down in solid sheets. Every single surface was slick and super dangerous, making every step a slow, agonizing effort. The cold was just seeping into their very bones, a constant, brutal presence that offered zero relief. Through the absolute deluge, the two figures pushed forward, their tiny forms dwarfed by the massive, unforgiving landscape. The unnamed hunter's face was just plastered with worry, his brow all crinkled as he tried to tough out the brutal conditions. Jian, slumped on the muddy ground, stared up at him with huge, worried eyes, his voice almost swallowed by the rain as he managed to ask, "Are you, okay?" His young face was just radiating deep empathy, those piercing blue eyes a stark contrast to the storm's grey gloom. The hunter stayed totally silent, his gaze lost in the distance, while Jian started to move, trying to push himself up from the thick mud. With a strained grunt, he jammed his hands into the slick ground, fighting to get back on his feet in the middle of the never-ending downpour. Trapped in the brutal downpour, Jian is on his knees next to his mother, her face contorted in agony, and he's screaming inside, "What should I do?" But then, his young face snaps into a mask of pure determination, declaring, "I'll get you out of this." But his mother's agonizing expression is all he can focus on, his voice cracking with raw emotion as he cries out, "Mo. There." Tears are streaming down his face, his eyes wide with a gut-wrenching mix of fear and pure desperation. A desperate, choked cry tearing from his throat as his mother's hand remains utterly limp, and his own tears now mirroring the relentless, unforgiving rain. The storm is absolutely raging around them, mercilessly battering a lone, skeletal tree. While Jian desperately continues to reach for his mother's unresponsive hand. His small fingers desperately grasping at her cold, unresponsive skin. Finally, he stands alone, a tiny figure against the vast, desolate landscape, his gaze locked onto a distant mountain. His face still streaked with tears and an overwhelming sense of despair. That very mountain, he knows, is currently under construction. The relentless downpour continues to lash down, but he pushes forward, a lone figure battling against the elements, his resolve tested with every step. His eyes, sharp and blue, dart upwards, a burning question echoing in his mind, what was that thing they called it, that colossal structure looming in the distance? The very air distorts around him, a chaotic symphony of rain and blurred vision, as if the world itself is trying to obscure the answers he seeks. But the mountains, his destination, remain stubbornly hidden behind a curtain of mist and rain, a daunting challenge waiting to be conquered. With every heavy step, his boots slosh through the growing puddles, a relentless march forward, no matter the obstacle. He's just a speck against the colossal, unforgiving landscape, but his spirit burns bright, pushing him towards that distant, hazy promise. A flicker of exhaustion crosses his face, his eyes dropping, but that electric blue gaze still holds an unyielding spark of defiance. He's deep in thought, his face a canvas of contemplation and fierce resolve, the sheer weight of his epic journey etched onto his determined young features. Then, his eyes snap forward, locking onto the path ahead with laser focus, his determination absolutely unbreakable, even in this brutal storm. But elsewhere, another mysterious figure emerges from the deluge, a woman cloaked by a dark umbrella, her presence a new enigma in this rain-soaked world. The relentless downpour couldn't stop him. He pushed forward, every step a defiant challenge against the storm's fury. But the storm wasn't just for him. An elderly woman, with an unyielding spirit, faced the tempest head-on, her umbrella a tiny bastion against the raging elements. Meanwhile, a seasoned hunter, his face a mask of grim determination, stared at the ground, the harsh conditions taking their toll even on him. The rain hammered against his rifle, a chilling symphony accompanying his silent struggle. Back to our hero, a lone silhouette against the storm, he pressed on, an unstoppable force against nature's fury. The brutal cold was relentless. Even the trees couldn't withstand it, as a branch, encased in ice, shattered and fell through the deluge. Winter's icy embrace was everywhere. Bare branches, like frozen veins, glistened with frost, painting a stark, beautiful, yet deadly picture. But then, a break in the clouds. Above a classic roof, the sky turned a brilliant blue, a momentary reprieve, hinting at the serene, yet unforgiving, beauty of winter. Back with Jian, he gazed out a rain-streaked window, his piercing blue eyes holding a depth of contemplation beyond his years. His gaze shifted to the snow-covered world beyond, a picturesque, yet desolate, winter wonderland stretching out before him. Those intense blue eyes, sharp and observant, swept across the frozen vista, absorbing every detail, every silent message. The epic journey pressed on. Across treacherous, icy roads, he forged ahead, a beacon of resilience against the brutal winter. A blinding flash of light explodes, ripping through the very fabric of reality. As the world itself seems to buckle and twist, a chilling premonition washing over everything. Suddenly, a devastating impact rips through the air, leaving nothing but shattered remnants in its wake. Jian's eyes fall, his face etched with a profound contemplation, as he grapples with the brutal honesty of his reality. A chilling truth dawns on him, the crushing weight of a desolate future, the stark reality that not a single human would survive in this world. He retreats to a window, his back turned, staring blankly at the world outside, consumed by an overwhelming sense of hopelessness. His small figure seems swallowed by the silent room, his face a mask of profound contemplation, as if the weight of the world rests squarely on his young shoulders. His hands lift, open and exposed, a raw display of doubt and vulnerability, as he confesses the paralyzing hesitation gripping him. His piercing blue eyes snap open, revealing a profound internal battle, as he desperately seeks to understand the true meaning of right and wrong. A hand points to a mind-bending diagram, and Jian is totally stumped, blurting out his confusion about what this crazy thing even is. Across from him, Li Jian drops a bombshell, saying he's just like her, but he's quick to shut it down, confessing he's totally clueless. She's not having it, though, demanding that even if he's clueless, he's gotta at least try. With a determined look, she doubles down, telling him straight up that real learning is all about trying, not just knowing stuff. But he's still stuck on the diagram, asking what the heck they're supposed to do if they can't figure out the answer. Li Jian just stares back, her eyes practically daring him to give up. Later, all by himself and deep in thought, he's chilling by a window, staring out at a super peaceful, snowy landscape. He's totally zoned out on the view, lost deep in his own head. Then, a.m. We're at this massive, super modern building, the Jinxiang General Hospital, just gleaming under a perfect sky. And then, a pair of scissors snips a bright red ribbon, signaling a huge new beginning or some major grand opening. The scene is set. A massive crowd has gathered, all eyes on this imposing, futuristic building. The energy is palpable, as more and more people flood the area, creating an epic gathering. Front and center, a high-ranking official in a slick brown coat is shaking hands, but then something catches his eye, and his face just says, "What the heck?" His eyes practically pop open, and you can almost hear him whisper, "Huh," as he spots something totally out of place. He turns to his right-hand man, demanding, "What's that over there?" The subordinate, looking totally lost, just manages a bewildered, "Pardon?" Meanwhile, high above the chaos, Jian is perched on a rooftop, a silent observer watching the entire spectacle unfold below him. The director's mind is racing, thinking, seriously, no guards. And they're just letting anyone waltz in. What is going on here? Seeing his boss getting heated, the subordinate snaps to attention, vowing, "I'll handle this. I'll get rid of him right now." The director's face is a mix of, ugh, and what now, as he watches his subordinate go to confront whoever's causing trouble. The tension is building, and you can feel the calm before the storm. Suddenly, the subordinate unleashes a furious roar, "You are absolutely not allowed to be here." But despite the shouting, a small, pale hand just casually slides into frame, totally ignoring the warning. He stood there, a lone figure amidst the chaos, the dust of battle still swirling around him, a silent testament to the absolute destruction he'd just unleashed. The unnamed doctor, utterly stunned, could only gape at the blood-soaked ground, while Jian, completely unfazed, surveyed the carnage of his lightning-fast, brutal victory. Bodies were strewn everywhere, like broken toys, a chilling testament to the sheer, overwhelming power he had just unleashed. His eyes narrowed, a silent challenge in his stare. "If you don't know," he seemed to demand, "then just do it." A flashback hit, taking him back to a simpler time when a younger Jian was with Youngshil, who casually asked, "Who cares if you get 20 points or 100 points? Her smile was so kind, her words a comforting balm, "It's totally okay to be wrong. Don't have a clue." The memory vanished, snapping him back to the harsh reality of the present. His face, now back in the present, was set with an unshakable resolve, his eyes burning with a deep, unwavering determination. Then, out of nowhere, a man let out a blood-curdling scream, his voice tearing through the air, as an invisible force struck with absolutely terrifying speed. The impact was absolutely devastating, leaving behind a severed arm, gushing blood onto the cold, unforgiving ground. After the absolute carnage he just unleashed, Jian stands tall, radiating pure, unadulterated resolve. His voice, cold as ice, echoes through the aftermath, "Then just do whatever you think is right. This kid is not messing around." His eyes, sharp as ever, hold a silent, terrifying promise of what's to come. But the unnamed man, pushed to his absolute limit, screams back, "I won't hesitate anymore. You will all." He's ready to fight back. Kneeling, but not broken, he glares up, spitting out his final, desperate threat, "Die at my hands." This is a man with nothing left to lose. But then, a dark thought flashes through his mind, the rumor began. What dark secret is he remembering? And just as the unnamed man makes his desperate stand, Jian's eyes ignite with a terrifying, electric blue glow, a silent, overwhelming display of his true power. This is about to get real. The chilling thought continues, a dark premonition, because, what's the terrifying truth? Check out Jian's insane stats. Level 10 existence, with HP, MP, ATK, Def, SPD, and LUK all maxed out. This kid is seriously leveling up. His eyes, filled with a wisdom far beyond his years, tell a story of endless battles and unimaginable sacrifices, a silent promise of the epic struggle still ahead. Even as the world stretches out, cold and unforgiving, a burning resolve ignites within him, a fierce declaration that he can do this. The sun dips, painting the sky in fiery hues, as the world around him stretches into an endless, empty expanse. Towering mountains pierce the sky, their ancient forms silhouetted against a breathtaking, fading sunset. But even in this grand vista, a somber sight emerges, a lone grave mound, a framed photo of a man standing as a silent testament to loss. Jayan, his young eyes heavy with a sorrow beyond his years, stands in quiet contemplation, wondering if the sheer trauma of witnessing her son's death was the final blow that took her life. Nearby, another grave, a mirror to the first, bears the image of an elderly woman, her kind features now forever frozen in a photograph. He recalls the quiet, heartbreaking truth: she simply passed away in her sleep a few days later, leaving him to carry the heavy burden of their absence. He stands, eyes burning with an unshakable resolve. But a flicker of the past remains, a younger version of himself, alone and deep in thought, whispering, "Let's think." Now, in the present, his fist tightens, every muscle screaming with determination. He's tapped into something incredible, a power beyond imagination, declaring, "Right now, I can call on the powers of all living beings." His voice a thunderous promise that he is limitless. "I can become anything." His eyes ignite, blazing with an intense, electric blue, a raw manifestation of the power surging through him. Yet, a chilling echo from his past flashes, a monochrome vision of his younger self, shattered and vulnerable. A stark warning that this immense power demands constant focus. If I'm not actively thinking, I return to the body of an ordinary human. The memory of that small, defeated figure, sitting in quiet desperation, still resonates. His younger self utterly crushed by his own powerlessness. "I can't do anything like this." But the clock never stops, and a whole year has ripped by since then. The world keeps spinning, a powerful train hurtling forward through a breathtaking, vibrant world. 1 year later, the world keeps spinning. A high-speed train slices through the air, and inside, a conductor is just doing his job, totally unaware of what's about to go down. But then, his eyes pop open in pure shock, as something intensely blue flashes right before him. A cracking sound rips through the air, a sharp, undeniable force against the clear blue sky. Outside, a young man just stands there, back to the speeding train, his dark hair whipping in the wind, totally unfazed. The very ground beneath him is practically shaking with power, a silent, epic declaration of the energy he's now unleashing. He spins around, and bam! It's Jayan, all grown up, and his eyes are practically burning with an insane, electric blue glow. Back on the train, the conductor's jaw hits the floor, absolutely flabbergasted by the impossible spectacle outside. Then, another massive burst of energy just explodes, a silent, earth-shattering force ripping through the air. Wild green and blue particles absolutely explode around him, a mind-blowing, dazzling show of his fully awakened power. Jayan looks up, a confident smirk on his face, totally owning his new powers, his glowing eyes burning with pure, unadulterated determination. He plants his feet firmly on the green grass, his chill clothes hiding the absolute monster-level power radiating from him. And with one final, unseen, earth-shattering force, the very sky itself seems to shatter around him, announcing his arrival to the world. Chaos. From the heart of a shattered landscape, a hand claws its way out of the debris, the ground still shaking from the impact. But elsewhere, a train conductor's jaw drops, his eyes practically popping out of his head, utterly stunned by what he's witnessing. That hand, now firmly gripping the rough ground, is a symbol of survival, a desperate grasp for reality. The conductor's face is a picture of pure terror, his mind reeling from the impossible sight. Down below, a lone figure watches the train speed by, a quiet presence with untold power simmering beneath the surface. The world rushes past the train, a blur of green and steel, as if nothing could ever stop its relentless momentum. Still reeling from the shock, the conductor glances back, a chilling premonition lingering in his mind. Suddenly, a terrifying, clawed monstrosity slams down onto the ground, its power threatening to obliterate everything in its path. A younger Jayan, eyes burning with an inner fire, stares into the distance, a profound realization dawning on him: even the smallest creatures possess an incredible, unyielding toughness. They always said humanity was at its weakest, a stark truth reflected in the endless, indifferent sky above, a silent witness to their struggles. But time stops for no one, and another year has flown by. A majestic white cat, perched regally on a stone, lets out a massive yawn, a powerful reminder that life goes on, no matter what. He had done it. He'd mastered communication with all living beings. And not a single word was uttered. Even a massive bear looked up, totally in sync with his every thought. And if he had to sum it up in one word, it was pure, unadulterated telepathy. The connection was just there, totally natural. And it was way easier than he ever imagined. Chilling with the bear, a cat on his head, he was totally at peace with his insane new powers. All thanks to the wild inherent abilities of his own body. But hold up, he realized, most living beings weren't exactly thrilled with humans. A thought that brought a serious look to his young, powerful face. And this whole situation? Totally questionable. Because 5 whole years had just flown by. Years flew by, and his body finally hit peak adulthood. A total glow-up that unlocked new levels of power. With his feet now grounded, he was a living monument to time's relentless march. Fully embracing his physical adulthood. His eyes, now piercing and deep, held the secrets of a decade of growth. That's right, a whole 10 years had flown by since everything went wild. Reshaping landscapes and societies in its wake. From gritty industrial zones to lush, reborn nature, the world had seen it all. And Jian, chilling on the beach, felt a connection to it all like never before. His communication skill, which used to be just for living things, had leveled up, now connecting him to everything, even inanimate objects. Dropping to a knee, he reached out, tuning into the silent whispers of the entire world. An otherworldly glow bursts forth, showering the scene in dazzling, shimmering particles. Jian's senses are going next level. He's not just seeing life in creatures, he's tapping into the very essence of the dirt, the water, and even the plants. But this isn't just some cool new trick, a chilling realization hits him, making him understand that this power means something far more profound. His mind explodes, encompassing the entire planet, seeing the Earth itself, a vibrant sphere catching the first rays of a new dawn. Connecting with the planet itself, a grim look washes over his face as he feels the very essence of this Earth. A crushing, pervasive sorrow hits him like a tidal wave, a feeling he can now distinctly perceive, thinking, I can feel it. The horrifying truth slams into him with undeniable force, it's suffering. His hand instinctively reaches out, hovering over the parched, cracked earth, desperately trying to grasp the raw pain he senses within its core, a silent scream from the planet itself. Above, the sky remains a serene blue, completely unaware of the silent agony unfolding below, a chilling contrast to the turmoil Jian is now experiencing. From a towering height, he surveys the sprawling city below, a concrete jungle testifying to humanity's relentless impact, his long hair flowing dramatically in the wind. Even the vibrant green leaves, usually symbols of life, now scream a dire message to his heightened senses, confirming his terrifying realization, it's dying. And just like that, the story catapults forward again, marking the passage of another incredible 30 years. After a mind-bending 30-year leap, the world kept spinning, but everything had changed. And in that epic span, he reveals, he absolutely mastered the power he had. His eyes, now sharp behind his glasses, burn with fierce resolve, his long, dark hair framing a face that's been through it all. And with every single year, there was literally no ceiling to what he could pull off. The very world bent to his will, with vibrant green foliage clinging to epic rock formations. But watch out, because signs of decay were also creeping in, as if the vibrant life was slowly getting swallowed by a creeping darkness. The landscape screamed a story of both growth and destruction, a brutal contrast of flourishing nature against scorched earth. And through all the chaos, the sky stayed a serene blue, a silent, epic backdrop to the world's insane turmoil. He thinks, additionally, his power-up game just went next level. His hands, now absolutely blazing with vibrant blue energy, are the ultimate proof of his refined, insane abilities. With an intense, focused expression, he brings his hands together, his eyes, now absolutely glowing with electric blue power, reflecting his insane concentration. A single tear escapes his glowing eye as he has an epic realization, he found that combining abilities was totally possible, unlocking a whole new level of power. The sky above is absolutely pristine, a canvas of endless blue. Before we cut to Jian, now fully grown, hair long and dark, standing on the edge of a cliff, overlooking an entire metropolis. And the thought echoing in his mind is absolutely chilling, I'm done with all my preparations. Then, a close-up on his face reveals those eyes, now burning with an electric blue glow, radiating raw power as he brings his hands together, the sheer intensity of his aura practically leaping off the screen. That electric blue glow intensifies, a vortex of power in his eyes, as the ultimate question hangs in the air, now. Above a sprawling cityscape, new, formidable presence emerges, their eyes burning with an intense electric blue. With long, unkempt dark hair framing a weary face, they clasp their hands together, a silent resolve hardening their expression, ready to unleash something incredible. For them, the process is deceptively simple, as fiery energy begins to coalesce around their form, hinting at unimaginable power. Extending their hands, they declare their intent, to bend reality itself within their grasp and apply immense pressure, a terrifying display of control. They know that merely repeating this action a couple of times is enough to trigger an earthquake, a world-shattering event. As their power surges, their eyes glow with renewed intensity, a crackling blue aura enveloping their entire being, a true force of nature. The energy ripples outward, manifesting as intricate lines of force that tear through the very fabric of the earth, a cataclysmic event in the making. The ultimate consequence of their actions is clear, a great earthquake that will tear apart the earth itself, an apocalyptic vision. A global map highlights the terrifying reach of their abilities, marking 6 distinct locations across the world, each a potential ground zero. With their current powers, they possess the capability to cause an earthquake of the same magnitude in each of those 6 places, a truly world-altering threat. The devastating impact of such an event is vividly imagined, as a colossal wave crashes with destructive force, a terrifying glimpse into the future. Imagine an earthquake so massive, it could obliterate entire cities, triggering tsunamis with waves towering over 100 meters high, crashing down with unstoppable force. This isn't just a disaster, it's a cataclysm that guarantees zero human survival. And at the peak of a horrifying mountain of skulls, reaching into the cosmic void, a tiny, glowing silhouette stood, overseeing the ultimate demise. This isn't just a bad day, this is the terrifying prophecy of the extinction of the human race. But then, a powerful young woman with piercing electric blue eyes appears, surrounded by shimmering energy, looking like she's about to rewrite reality itself. And she's not just observing, she's confirming the nightmare, stating that's exactly what's going down. With her back to a breathtaking, endless sky, where birds fly without a care, her dark hair dances in the wind, a stark contrast to the chaos she wields. Meanwhile, a monstrous, red-orange vortex, with dark, feathered wings ripping through its center, shows the sheer, destructive power she's about to unleash. But this isn't just about humanity, this cataclysm is so epic, humans won't be the only ones getting wiped out. Her electric blue eyes, burning with a mix of resolve and deep sadness, show the immense burden of the choice she's about to make. Even with all that destruction on the line, she makes her chilling declaration, even so. I'll do it. And as golden power ignites in her hands, she drops a massive bombshell, I'll do it, but... Li Jian, the ultimate power, hovers over a shattered world, golden energy surging from her hands. Her mind races, a single thought burning through the chaos, I'm still hesitating. As the sprawling cityscape stretches out below, her internal debate rages on. And she questions, why not witness humanity's current state? Her eye flares with an intense blue light as she dismisses the thought, seriously? I've been watching them since the beginning of time. Yet, that nagging doubt persists, and the words escape her lips again, I'm still hesitating. Meanwhile, a worried man in a fur hat observes from afar. While Li Jian's determination starts to harden. Her thoughts taking a decisive turn, fine. I can unleash this power anytime I choose. The golden energy around her hands flares, raw power cracking the very ground beneath her. This radiant power surges down to her bare feet, shattering the earth with every pulse. Her long hair whips around her as the powerful young woman stands amidst the glowing fissures, a force of nature unleashed. Her final thought echoing with chilling confidence, no need to rush this at all. The ocean, an endless expanse, mirrors the sky above. Then soft waves kiss a sandy beach, a picture of pure, untamed beauty. But even here, the coastline whispers of human touch, buildings peeking out from the wild. No matter where she roams, a stark truth hits her. Even the deep, green forests, wild and free, can't escape this relentless spread. A wooden trail cuts through the trees, leading 2 people deeper, a stark reminder of humanity's reach. And even in the forest's quiet, a body lies still on the earth, a grim echo of the conflicts that come with human growth. No matter how hard she tries, there's nowhere left untouched by humanity. Her bare feet crunch on cracked, dry ground, a soft crackle with every step, a harsh reality against the wild beauty she sees. The winding cliffside road, rough and worn, gives off the same faint crackle, just another path humanity has forged. She stands at the edge, gazing down the man-made route, and thinks, just look at this road, for instance. Just recently, she was taking in a vibrant field, a place that used to be a forest, absolutely bursting with the sweet, pervasive scent of acacia flowers. Now, looking down at herself, a quiet resolve settled within her, like she'd finally made up her mind. All right. She turned to face a massive window, a profound weariness washing over her, a feeling she just couldn't shake. She was just too tired. Her eyes, usually a deep brown, now started to glow with an intense, electric blue light. The blue radiance intensified, a powerful bang echoing as her resolve hardened, her gaze becoming sharp and unwavering, a clear shift in her demeanor. She walked away from a parked car, a faint blue aura emanating from her, another bang resonating with her steps, leaving behind the mundane. Her face, now fully illuminated by the inner glow, showed a fierce determination, her electric blue eyes fixed on an unseen goal. A sharp bang sound accompanied a forceful thought, a silent command to shut up directed at an unseen presence or internal doubt, as the car's headlights flared. The car's lights shone brightly, another bang echoing, as she focused on noises that weren't ordinary, sounds hinting at something more. Her glowing blue eye, now fully charged with power, reflected the approaching light, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. Her eyes, blazing with an electric blue intensity, pulsed with raw power, the very air crackling around her. The car blasted across the rain-soaked bridge, leaving a ghostly blue streak in its wake. A hand clenched the wheel, blue energy still surging from her very touch. Then, an ominous silence fell. Before a terrified gasp tore from her throat as the very road shattered before her. The entire road imploded, colossal waves devouring the collapsing bridge. The bridge screamed as concrete exploded and steel shrieked under the impossible strain. She floored it, the car barely outrunning the gaping maw of destruction behind them. But then, she was alone, standing defiant on the shattered asphalt, rain and debris pounding around her. Her car, a forgotten shell, sat behind her as she confronted the desolate, crumbling world. A visceral scream tore from her, a primal shriek of pure terror as the world imploded. Her electrified blue eyes, wide with unadulterated horror, mirrored the apocalyptic chaos. A delicate yellow flower blooms, its petals unfurling as a soft voice asks, "How is it?" But that innocent question is immediately juxtaposed with an extreme close-up of a wide, intensely blue eye, its iris practically burning with an unnatural, almost terrifying light, veins stark against the white. Back to the past, a young woman smiles gently, a similar yellow blossom tucked behind her ear, repeating the query with a hint of anticipation, a stark contrast to the chaos to come. Her expression then softens, eyes closing as if lost in a fleeting, pleasant memory, unaware of the impending doom. Suddenly, the serene memory is violently ripped away, replaced by the frantic, heart-pounding present as Lee Jin grips a steering wheel, her mouth open in a desperate, primal scream, the entire world around her collapsing into an abyss. A raw, guttural scream tears from her throat, her face contorted in pure terror, a faint, ominous blue light beginning to emanate from her lips, mirroring the terrifying glow in her eyes. The car plunges, a helpless metal coffin, into the gaping chasm, surrounded by crumbling concrete and twisted rebar, the very ground betraying its existence. It slams into the bottom with a deafening, bone-jarring impact, a violent burst of blue energy erupting from the point of collision, the vehicle crumpling like a tin can. But just when you think it's over, a hand, fueled by an unseen, incredible force, shoots out from the debris, her long hair whipping wildly behind her, a desperate bid for survival. Her palm ignites with an intense, pulsating blue light, the raw energy practically crackling as she desperately reaches for purchase, for a way out. With a violent, earth-shattering crack, that blue energy explodes from the ground, pulverizing the surrounding rocks and sending razor-sharp shards flying in every direction. And then, bathed in a brilliant, ethereal azure light, she defies gravity, rising from the utter destruction, ascending effortlessly into the air, leaving the mangled car and the shattered earth far below. What an escape! Suddenly, the world rips apart. The road beneath the car shatters, revealing a terrifying, bottomless abyss. In an instant, the white car is swallowed by the darkness, plummeting into the unknown with a shower of rocks. Inside, Lee Jin's face twists in sheer horror, her knuckles white as she clutches the wheel, utterly helpless. Her eyes, dilated with panic, mirror the dizzying fall as the abyss consumes them. But just as despair sets in, a raw, explosive power ignites within her, her eyes flaring with an impossible electric blue, a powerful burst echoing around her. The brilliant blue energy surges, and her face, once frozen in fear, now shows a stunned realization. Her eyes are completely engulfed in the dazzling blue, her powers roaring to life. A primal scream tears from her throat, not of terror, but of unleashed power, her glowing eyes blazing with untamed energy. Then, a colossal, shimmering blue aura explodes around her, ripping her free from the doomed car, leaving it to crash alone. She hangs suspended in the air, a brilliant blue star amidst the swirling debris and destruction. With a flick of her hand, now blazing with azure power, she effortlessly pulverizes nearby rocks, showcasing her terrifying new abilities. Suspended high above the crashing car, she stands alone, a radiant blue silhouette against the darkness, having cheated death but now facing an entirely new world of unknowns. A monstrous shadow looms, and the world around her is literally falling apart. This is it, the moment of truth. The impact hits hard, blood streaks her face, and you can see the pain in her eyes. But even through the pain, a faint blue glow ignites in her eye, her powers are waking up. The car is going down, plummeting from the bridge into the unknown. The car smashes into the water, but she's still in the air, reaching out, fighting for survival. Her eye is now blazing with an intense, vibrant blue, and she's realizing her powers are taking over, keeping her alive. She's floating above the wreckage, confirming the impossible, she's levitating. Her focus is laser-sharp, her mind completely clear, operating on pure instinct. Then, with an explosive surge of power, a wave of blue energy blasts out, obliterating everything around her. And then, a shocking realization, they look alike. Her eye, still blazing with that intense blue, is now streaked with blood, a brutal sign of the sheer power she just unleashed. The raw, searing pain just keeps on coming, a familiar agony that rips through her, making her gasp. It's a feeling she's experienced countless times before, and it's back with a vengeance. The sheer intensity of it all forces a choked cry from her throat, her vision swimming in the chaotic aftermath of her unleashed power. It's been a long time since she last felt this overwhelming sensation, this chilling feeling of death that has visited her thousands of times before. The word echoes in her mind, a stark, terrifying reminder of the abyss she's faced down. But this time, a flicker of doubt accompanies the thought, a chilling question of whether this truly is the end, or something more. As her vision clears, the vibrant blue of her eye shines with an ethereal glow, no longer obscured by the haze of pain, but with a newfound, terrifying clarity. The intensity of her gaze now holds a calm, yet profound power, reflecting the incredible awakening within her very being. A moment passes, or perhaps a lifetime, and the question hangs in the air: how long has it been since the cataclysmic event, since everything changed? In a sterile hospital room, a young boy lies bandaged and silent, his expression completely unreadable, a mystery unfolding. The quiet hum of medical equipment fills the space, as a woman stands vigil by his bedside, a silent guardian. She gently admonishes him, explaining that he shouldn't have acted so rashly, especially since they were going to have to proceed with the surgery anyway. What was he thinking? The boy's eyes widened slightly at her words, the mention of surgery catching him completely off guard. What surgery? The doctor drops a bombshell, revealing they have zero intel on the kid, and Oh Youngshil, looking intense, presses for answers. She then reveals the doctor gave the green light for the surgery, and it was a total success. But the real challenge begins now. The doctor gets right to it, asking the recovering kid, what's his name? And he's totally stumped. The doctor repeats the shocking fact, no info on this kid. So Oh Youngshil steps in, trying to coax his name out of him. With his head wrapped in bandages, his bright blue eyes are filled with confusion, as he tries to piece together his own identity. The doctor and Oh Youngshil are on pins and needles, waiting for any sign of recognition. Trapped in his bed, his mind is a blank slate, and the terrifying truth hits him: he can't remember his name. Oh Youngshil's face drops, her concern palpable, as the shocking reality of his memory loss sinks in. He turns away, his bandaged head a stark image of his inner turmoil, grappling with the void where his memories should be. Then, a jolt. A flash of recognition ignites his eyes, as a crucial memory bursts through the fog. He locks eyes with Oh Youngshil and the doctor, a triumphant look on his face, and finally, he remembers. His eyes snap open, burning with an intense, undeniable clarity. The name, the one thing he couldn't grasp, finally explodes into his mind: Lee Jian. In a hospital room, a young Jian is out cold, head wrapped in bandages, his entire past a total blank, with no one knowing his age or where he even came from. His mom, Oh Youngshil, is right there by his bed with a doctor, her face screaming pure agony as she stares at her boy. His sister, Lee Jian, is with their mom in the hospital hallway, and you can practically feel the heavy dread hanging over them as they talk about how messed up everything is, calling the whole thing unfortunate. The sheer weight of their nightmare is plastered all over Lee Jian's face, her expression screaming pure anguish. 3 months later, the hunt for Jian's identity is still on, and now they think he's in his mid-20s, but finding any real info is like pulling teeth. Back in the office, the doctor tells his subordinate he's heard the latest, admitting that even if they track the kid down, they're powerless because he's completely off the grid. The subordinate doubles down, emphasizing that Jian has zero records and isn't registered anywhere, leaving them totally clueless about his true identity or potential. Later, chilling in a car, the subordinate scrolls through a tablet, confirming his own deep dive hit a dead end, absolutely nothing on Jian, not a single shred of info on Oh Youngshil's son. Lee Jian is absolutely stressed, sitting there, thinking, what am I even supposed to do with this mess? Back at the office, the doctor and his subordinate are deep in discussion, and they're both agreeing that this whole thing is super complicated. The doctor drops a bombshell: Jian could have total amnesia, and get this, he might not even be officially registered anywhere. Lee Jian, completely overwhelmed, just asks what's the next move. The doctor lets out a frustrated sigh, and Lee Jian just makes a small sound, totally defeated. Then, the subordinate drops a new word, guardian, and Lee Jian's ears perk up. She looks up, totally confused, asking, guardian? Cut to a massive, sleek building, all glass and steel, gleaming in the sun. Inside, a new guy with light brown hair walks up to Lee Jian, and his first question is, are you Lee Jian's guardian? He asks again, super serious, really needing an answer. Lee Jian, looking totally caught off guard, quickly corrects him, she's not the guardian, she's his sister. At the counter, the clerk confirms the discharge papers are good to go, and Lee Jian just gives a quiet, yes. The clerk points to the signature line, and Lee Jian gets ready to sign off on everything. A beat of silence hangs in the air as her face goes blank, her thoughts a mystery. Her thoughts immediately snap to her brother, Jian, his worried little face flashing in her mind. A heavy worry weighs on her face, her eyes fixed on the ground. The whole situation with her brother is clearly eating at her, leaving her deep in thought. Finally, she's out in the open, under the setting sun, but she can't help but glance back at the facility. That's when she runs right into Guardian, the guy just standing there, looking straight at her. He immediately picks up on her worried face, asking if everything's alright. He doubles down, saying she looks rough, and she just stares back, totally confused. Still reeling from the bombshell about her brother, she snaps at the guy, demanding he let her go. She's not taking the blame, it's all Jian's fault, and she's not about to listen to anyone else when her brother needs her. He just stares, a flicker of concern in his gaze, demanding to know what she's even talking about. They start walking, and he's still watching her like a hawk, his face giving nothing away. She just keeps her eyes glued to the pavement, trying to escape his intense stare. Then, out of nowhere, Guardian drops a bomb, saying she looks like she's in her mid-20s, like, exactly 24. And then, just to twist the knife, he casually mentions, he's 34. Her eyes practically pop out as she tries to compute this new info, a thought screaming in her head, he's way older, right? Guardian, completely missing her internal meltdown, just bluntly asks, what exactly she is. Her face twists into a scowl, a single, enraged thought burning in her mind, this bitch. Guardian lets out a small, knowing laugh, then announces, that since they're already here, he's just gonna be brutally honest with her. Then, with a shrug, he just says, do whatever. Lee Jian, absolutely fed up, fires back, demanding to know if he has any manners and if he wants her to school him. A lone figure, a young boy, stands victorious over countless defeated foes, his eyes holding the weight of an existence stretching back billions of years. Back in the present, Lee Jian, totally fed up with Guardian, shuts down the conversation and demands they get going. She lays down her dating rules, making it clear she's only into older guys, even if it's just by a year, and anyone hitting the big 3-0 is officially ancient history to her. Guardian just takes it all in, his face giving absolutely nothing away. Then, as they start to leave, with the sun setting dramatically, he just grabs her hand out of nowhere. Her eyes practically pop out of her head in pure shock, completely blindsided by his move. But that shock instantly morphs into rage as she snaps at him, demanding to know why he's ignoring her rule about not just grabbing someone's hand. He just stares back, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. She's still fuming, waiting for him to explain himself. Totally done with his cluelessness, she throws her hand over her face in utter frustration. Guardian, being Guardian, just bluntly states that if she wants to hold hands, she just needs to ask for permission. Then, with a straight face, he asks the ultimate question, can he hold her hand? Her jaw drops, a look of utter disbelief plastered across her face as his audacious question hangs in the air. Seriously? She fumes internally, wishing he'd learned some manners and phrase things like a normal human being. But Guardian, completely unfazed, just doubles down, asking again if he can hold her hand, leaving her utterly speechless. And just like that, without even a second of hesitation, his hand reaches out, gently but firmly taking hers. Her eye snaps open even wider, a shockwave of emotion rippling through her as their hands connect. Then, with a casual, let's go, he throws an arm around her shoulder, practically dragging her along. He's completely oblivious, marching forward as if nothing out of the ordinary just happened. But even as they walk side by side, a massive, invisible wall slams down between them, a resounding "no" to his advances. Suddenly, a tiny, shimmering particle sparks from her hand, a silent protest, a hint of something more brewing beneath the surface. She whips her head back, a fierce, unyielding glint in her eye, ready to face whatever comes next. That light in her eye flares, burning brighter with an undeniable resolve. Yet, they keep moving, the air crackling with an unspoken tension that's almost unbearable. She stares at the kid, a burning question forming in her mind. Tears stream down his face, his blue eyes overflowing as he just can't stop crying. They walk hand in hand, but the kid's still wondering why he's even crying, and she's got no clue either. They keep moving towards the building, the bright yellow flowers in the foreground almost mocking the kid's silent sadness. The world just kinda stops for a second, with a whole field of bright yellow flowers just chilling in the wind. The golden hour hits, painting a cozy cafe in a stunning light. Jian's face is a mix of shock and confusion, trying to wrap his head around the bombshell that just dropped. Across the table, Lee Jian takes a calm sip, her eyes locked on him as she drops the loaded question, "You're actually living with this person now?" She casually confirms it, adding that it's just a temporary setup. But his focus suddenly snaps elsewhere, eyes wide as he demands to know what she's staring at. Lee Jian, completely baffled, just lets out a confused, huh. Meanwhile, outside, a ridiculously cute corgi waits patiently, leash in paw, as the two continue their intense chat inside. The corgi, with a look that screams, absolutely not, makes its feelings perfectly clear. Leaving the cafe with the corgi now in tow, Lee Jian asks what the big deal is, casually mentioning the dog's already crashing at her place. Jian, still reeling from the dog's sudden appearance, can only stammer out a confused, what is? He stares up, absolutely floored, as she drops the bombshell, the dog isn't just alive, he's her older brother too. But the conversation shifts, as Young Shil, now talking to Lee Jian, zeroes in on a crucial detail, the dialect. What's up with that? Lee Jian quickly clarifies, revealing her mom's Gyeongsang roots, which lets her instantly tell that this guy is totally faking the accent. Young Shil's face hardens with suspicion, realizing it sounds completely fake, like he's putting on an act. But Lee Jian pushes back, wondering why anyone would even bother faking a dialect in the first place. Young Shil just throws her hands up, totally stumped and admitting she has no clue. She quickly tries to get them back on track, insisting they ditch the wild theories and just think logically about this whole mess. Young Shil dives deep into thought, a quiet her only response as she tries to piece it all together. Jian, who's been soaking it all in, silently nods along, realizing Young Shil's got a point. Suddenly, Lee Jian's mind flashes back to the dialect debate, her own words echoing, a guy living in Seoul his whole life should sound totally normal, right? The weight of this new understanding crushes Jian, his face twisting into a look of pure anguish. And Lee Jian finally puts it all together, her eyes widening with a chilling realization. The cafe scene remains charged as the trio presses on with their intense discussion. While the young boy gives a subtle, almost imperceptible smile. His older sister sighs softly, but their friend gasps, completely taken aback. She closes her eyes, a heavy sense of responsibility crushing her. Feeling utterly accountable for the entire mess. Their friend then drops a bombshell question, asking if the dog is really harmless. She deeply considers the implications, her face turning dead serious. While the older sister's gaze hardens with fierce resolve. Both women stand in silent, heavy contemplation, the full weight of their discovery crashing down. Even the young boy looks up, a newfound seriousness etched into his eyes. Matching the fierce, determined expression of their friend. Finally, the older sister lays it all out for the boy, declaring she won't be helping him anymore and proposing a radical new approach to their predicament. As the intense discussion unfolds, the little corgi, the very heart of their dilemma, is just chilling, completely unaware, snoozing away on the floor. Lee Jian drops a bombshell on Young Shil, declaring she's changing her game plan, then pivots to Jian with a blunt, "You can't stay here with me." Jian's face twists in disbelief, his voice cracking as he questions, "I can't stay with you." But Lee Jian holds her ground, her gaze unwavering as she reiterates, "I really want to stay with you, though." Young Shil observes the tense moment, a subtle, almost amused smile gracing her features. As Jian turns his head, a deep frown etched onto his face, clearly lost in contemplation. Lee Jian presses on, revealing the crucial condition, "Until you get your memories back." A shadow falls over Jian's face, the gravity of her statement hitting him hard. But Lee Jian softens her gaze, a comforting smile forming as she vows, "I'll be visiting all the time." With the heavy talk wrapping up, Lee Jian tells Young Shil to look after him, and Jian just stares down, a soft, slipping out. Which makes Young Shil challenge Lee Jian's choice to abandon him, demanding, "You're seriously leaving him already? We don't even know his memories. Why aren't you staying with him?" Lee Jian quickly explains her rationale, mentioning she has to get back to the hospital, and then adds, "I've got a bit more work I need to wrap up there." The talk about her job kept going, and Jian was totally locked in. Then, Young Shil dropped the bomb. She spilled the details, calling it. Jian's face was still deep in thought. A silent resolve hardened his look. Just a beat later, a super fluffy corgi, all orange and white. The dog made a beeline for the group. It gave his hand a little boop. Lee Jian just stared, a big question mark on her face. Young Shil, totally weirded out by the dog's actions, just pointed. She then leaned in to Lee Jian, whispering. Lee Jian's eyes narrow, a flicker of worry crossing her face as she observes the strange interaction. But Joyce isn't just excited, she's absolutely losing it, barking her head off, completely captivated by Jian. Jian, completely unfazed, kneels down to give Joyce some well-deserved pets, but Young Shil can't hide her shock, Joyce has never been this affectionate with anyone else. Joyce absolutely melts into his hand, soaking up every bit of attention like she's found her new favorite person. But then, something absolutely wild happens. As Jian keeps petting Joyce, his eyes ignite with an electric blue glow, shimmering particles erupting around him, leaving Young Shil utterly stunned. The blue energy explodes around his face, his expression a mix of pure shock and raw power as the surge overwhelms him. And it's not just his eyes, blinding streams of electric blue energy erupt from his hands, twisting and coiling like a living storm. His eye, now a cosmic vortex of blue, pulses with an unbelievable, swirling power. The sheer force of it rips him off the ground, flipping him upside down, his whole body engulfed in a blinding blue storm of energy, while Joyce just stares up, completely mesmerized. His glowing eyes lock onto something beneath him, his gaze intense and unwavering. His hand shoots out, reaching for the grimy rubber of a car tire, a bizarre new connection suddenly sparking to life. Suddenly, a piercing tire screech rips through the air, locking everyone's attention onto a car on the street. And from a nearby rooftop, a frantic ARF explodes, as Joyce goes absolutely wild. Lee Jian, Young Shil, and the Guardian are totally bewildered on the rooftop, with Lee Jian yelling, "Our Royce! Stop that! Calm down! What's wrong? But wait, inside another car, Jian and Li Jian are totally confused, with Li Jian asking, that car? Huh? His eyes, now blazing with power, lock onto a specific tire, emblazoned with Kitty. Just moments later, the whole crew is on the street, with Oh Youngshil demanding, what about that car? A low, ethereal hum pulses from the vehicle, now radiating with a mysterious blue energy. Joyce, still totally freaked out, lets out a deep growl, her animal instincts going haywire over whatever's happening. Everyone knows a dog's sense of smell is 1,000 times better than a human's, and now, Jian's eyes are practically burning with that exact, amplified perception. It's Jian, who's somehow tapped into the incredible abilities of a dog, his face locked in absolute concentration. He'd just stumbled upon something huge, his power making that car tire glow with an intense blue light. His super sharp level sensing ability zeroes in on a tiny, dark device secretly stuck to the tire. It was an organism born from the bottomless greed of humanity. A chilling truth that even the Guardian, standing with his back to the light, seemed to instinctively grasp, as he stared intently at the object of their concern. A presence so profound that even Jian, who was currently human, could sense it, his gaze fixed alongside Li Jian and the Guardian. From above, the group, now including Oh Youngshil, observed the car, which pulsed with a faint green glow, the source of the strange energy. A closer look revealed a small, glowing device attached to one of the truck's tires, its presence marked by the faint Niton logo on the vehicle's side. The device itself bore a stark warning, a clear sign to handle with care. The Guardian's expression shifted to one of profound concern, his eyes wide with a dawning realization of the potential danger. Deep in the dead of night, a massive research facility is buzzing with some serious, top-secret action. And inside, they're dissecting this glowing, tentacled creature, which they've chillingly dubbed an Onidaria. And let's be real, they're treating this thing like it's nothing short of a full-blown cancerous tumor. This thing's cellular regeneration is off the charts, totally unbelievable. So, the scientists are going all in, trying to figure out how to shut down this insane growth, because it's the key to everything. The doctor, totally engrossed in his tablet, can't help but wonder if this thing is some kind of real-life hydra. He recounts how they literally chopped off one of its tentacles, just to see what would happen. But get this, just a few days later, it was completely regenerated, like it never even happened. Right now, tons of researchers are busting their butts, trying to engineer proteins that can actually stop this regeneration, and it's a game changer if they pull it off. The doctor, eyes glued to his tablet, drops the bombshell, if they can stop this, they could literally cure cancer. His subordinate, totally hooked, can't help but agree that this is beyond interesting. And then, the doctor drops the mic, just recently, one of their applicants actually found a new protein that has the exact power they've been desperate for. The unnamed doctor drops a bombshell, revealing they've been secretly researching a brand new organism for 2 whole weeks. He's like, check out these pics, then drops the organism's epic name. Behold the steer. This thing looks like a cosmic, pulsating star. But wait, there's more. The doctor's about to drop some serious knowledge. A mysterious, glowing symbol flashes, hinting at the mind-bending science behind it all. He's like, just hear me out, as the scene zooms out to the epic cosmic expanse. He's about to drop a quick story, and suddenly, we're staring at Earth from space, absolutely stunning at sunrise. The secret to Earth's perfection. It's all about balance, he reveals. Tiny organisms float in a cosmic void, showing off life's incredible, delicate balance. This balance even applies to us, humans, perfectly depicted by these anatomical figures. This core idea is for humans, just like an eagle dominating the skies. He presses on, revealing the primal truth, every creature on this planet is hardwired with an innate set of instincts. From the very first breath, every being is driven by an unyielding, untaught force, evident as infants instinctively seek nourishment. And just like chicks bursting from their shells, these aren't learned behaviors. No, these are raw, untamed instincts, pure survival mechanisms etched into their very being. It's a relentless, beautiful cycle of birth, life, and death, the very engine that keeps existence churning on this planet. Every organism, from the smallest to the largest, is locked into this eternal dance of existence, a breathtaking testament to nature's design. But the balance isn't just about the big picture, it's woven into the very fabric of existence, even down to the plankton, the unseen architects of life. These tiny powerhouses aren't just the foundation of countless food chains, they're also secretly orchestrating the very clouds above us. Witness the unseen architects of our weather. The ocean's water, drawn skyward, is transformed into vapor, all thanks to the plankton's hidden power. It's an invisible, mind-blowing cycle. These microscopic marvels are literally shaping our atmosphere, creating the clouds that bring life-giving rain. The water itself, a relentless traveler from the depths to the heavens and back, is a living testament to this perfect, natural balance. And so, he brings it all together, hammering home the undeniable truth: every single life form, from the tiniest plankton to the mightiest beast, is a crucial cog in Earth's flawless, breathtaking equilibrium. The sun's power blasts through the sky, but Earth's clouds are ready to deflect it. These aren't just any clouds, they're Earth's ultimate shield, bouncing back solar radiation and keeping our planet from overheating. But the action isn't just in the sky. Beneath the waves, life explodes, as colossal beings glide through the ocean's shimmering embrace. The underwater realm is a pulsating powerhouse, a hidden world bursting with incredible life. And get this, the ocean isn't just big, it's a life-giving titan, pumping out half our oxygen, controlling the weather, and holding the destiny of every creature in its watery grasp. Its currents are a swirling vortex of raw power, a relentless force that literally sculpts our world. But even in these epic, hidden depths, a dark truth is emerging, a shadow cast by us. The Earth, this incredible, self-healing marvel, is literally dying, choked by the relentless destruction brought by humanity. Meanwhile, back in the cold, hard reality of human ambition, a towering structure looms, a symbol of our relentless drive. Inside, someone stares out, lost in thought, as a chilling voice cuts through the silence. Where are you going now? Jian's face is a mask of intense thought, his eyes burning with an unspoken resolve. The discussion heats up, and Li Jian is all ears, soaking in every word. Suddenly, a new player jumps into the fray, inviting them to join in, then drops her name, Oh Youngshil, and immediately starts grilling them about their lives. Li Jian drops a bombshell, revealing their familyless and homeless, having found Jian on the streets, calling him a streets kid. Jian, with a sudden revelation, drops a bombshell, announcing he's also Buddhist. Li Jian whips her head around, a shockwave of surprise hitting her, uttering a stunned, Buddhist. Oh Youngshil lets out a soft, oh, then speculates if the kid's spirits are lifted, now that he's found a fellow believer. Later, in a whole new scene, Jian is deep in thought, wrestling with the idea of religion, his eyes lost in the distance while he's chilling in the kitchen. Strolling away from a building, Li Jian hits him with the big question, asking if he believes in God or anything, and he just shrugs, not sure. Back in the kitchen, Jian is still in his own head, lost in thought, miles away. Oh Youngshil, with a look that says it all, declares, people who don't believe in God don't exist. Talk about a mic drop. Jian, eyes downcast, quietly pushes back, with a soft, no. A faint smile plays on his lips as he delivers the final blow, I'm sure there is. Boom. He stares up, his eyes locked on her, demanding to know if she's absolutely sure. Oh Youngshil is glued to a screen, Li Jian right there with her, the trio still chilling in the cafe. His mind races, a silent confession echoing, it's all just too much to handle. He's grappling with the idea of a world where God is nowhere to be found. Li Jian and Oh Youngshil are both staring at him, their faces a blend of worry and intrigue. Oblivious to their gaze, he's totally absorbed in his deep, philosophical thoughts. Despite having his Earth memories wiped clean, millions of years gone, he still felt an undeniable certainty deep down. He had this absolute, rock-solid feeling, a certainty that just couldn't be shaken. His mind flashes to a lush, sun-drenched forest, a scene of pure, untamed beauty. Next, colossal, snow-capped mountains rise, cementing his conviction that the true laws of this world are absolutely unbreakable. Then, a sharp, clear sound cuts through the air, a quick tap or click. Suddenly, the entire scene flips to a torrential downpour, as a lone figure in a yellow raincoat stands there, staring up into the absolute deluge. The world has always been a chaotic place, with the raw power of tornadoes tearing through everything. And the crushing might of hurricanes, leaving nothing but devastation and cracked earth in their wake. And let's not forget the earth-shattering power of earthquakes, a constant, terrifying reminder of how fragile everything is. Towering skyscrapers stand against the stormy skies. As hail descends like icy bullets, absolutely pummeling everything in its path. These, and countless other natural disasters, have always been the ultimate forces shaping life on this planet. But seriously, was that not enough? Was the sheer, raw chaos of the world just not cutting it? Because now, new, insidious force is clearly at play. One that's not from nature, but from something else entirely, and it's specifically engineered to wipe out humanity. Mysterious figures emerge from the abstract depths. Their forms indistinct, as the very concept of survival, not the actual life of a living being, becomes the ultimate driving force. This new, terrifying purpose is to drive humanity to its absolute breaking point. The world is on the edge, a blood-red earth spinning like a ticking time bomb, humanity hurtling towards extinction. But deep inside a secret lab, two scientists in white coats are messing with something truly wild, a glowing, pulsating energy source trapped in a chamber. And somewhere else, totally unaware, a young guy is just chilling behind a counter, but the chilling truth is whispered, one of them is trapped. Then, boom. A raw, chaotic energy blast. A wild pink and purple mass explodes, hinting at an unstoppable power unleashed. But through all the madness, a younger giant stares ahead, his electric blue eyes blazing with a hidden power, a quiet storm brewing inside him. The dark energy keeps swirling, a sinister current of purple and black, hinting at forces beyond our wildest nightmares. Then, bam. It shifts to a vibrant blue, a dynamic cascade of liquid light, shattering and flowing like pure power. This wild energy then comes together, forming insane, glowing patterns against a cosmic backdrop, sparkling with pure magic. The ultimate question hangs in the air. The answer explodes into view with an older giant, his face covered in blood, hair wild, and those electric blue eyes absolutely burning with terrifying power, blasting out blue energy. This insane transformation, this sudden emergence, was totally off the charts, as the chilling message confirms, and no one could have predicted it. But the source of this unpredictable power might be right here, as hands carefully hold a petri dish with a glowing, star-shaped organism, hinting that this wasn't natural, it was made. Before the chaos, before the power, a younger giant gazes out, his signature blue eyes hinting at a hidden depth, a calm before the storm. As steam rises from a comforting mug held in steady hands, it's a rare glimpse into a tranquil moment, a stark contrast to the battles yet to come. Check out this building, just chilling under a clear sky, looking all mysterious and stuff. Inside, Oh Young-shil is just done with this mess, letting out a huge sigh, as she stares down the chaos of a room still packed with boxes. Meanwhile, Jaein, totally chill amidst the boxes, just throws out a casual comeback, like, dude, I thought you were gonna clean it if it got messy. Young-shil, hands on her hips, is absolutely fuming, demanding to know why he left the entire room looking like a disaster zone. But the kid just stares back, giving absolutely nothing away with his expression. Her patience is totally gone, and Young-shil snaps, telling him to actually respond when someone's talking. Alright, he finally sits up, while she's already down and dirty, ready to tackle this mountain of boxes. She barks at him to get moving, explaining they're shoving all these boxes to one side, and he just gives a meek okay. While they're hustling, Jaein notices just how many boxes there are, and can't help but ask what's even inside all of them. Young-shil, straining as she shoves a box, sarcastically thanks him for caring, before dropping the bombshell, they're all just books. Then she spills the tea, their cafe used to be a book cafe, but nobody ever actually read the books, so they just got rid of them to free up space. With a no-nonsense gaze, Oh Young-shil lays down the law, telling him he can hit the books if boredom strikes. A slightly annoyed Lee Jaein grudgingly agrees to tackle the box mountain, admitting it's a total disaster. A quick shot reveals the forgotten treasures, mysteries of animals and mysteries of the universe, a stark reminder of the cafe's past life. Suddenly, the cafe springs to life with a new customer, and the staff's enthusiastic welcome rings out. Behind the counter, Young-shil barks orders at Jaein, telling him an Americano for 7,000 won is up. Clutching the cash, Jaein does the math, realizing a 10,000 won payment means 7,000 won in change. With a piercing stare, Young-shil snaps, ordering him to get that drink to the customer's table, now. Armed with the Americano, Jaein makes the delivery, serving up the customer's order. Young-shil's eyes follow him, her intense focus never wavering from the cafe's operations. Jaein, eyes blazing with that signature blue, tries out a smile, asking for feedback from his boss. But Young-shil's not easily impressed, her eyes sharp as she watches his every move from across the room. She gives him a nod, but it's clear he's still got work to do on his customer charm. Young-shil pushes him to level up, telling him a real smile is worth a massive 100 points with the customers. Jaein absorbs her wisdom, gearing up to nail that perfect customer interaction. Then, a sudden ding-dong from the door chime, signaling new challengers, customers, have arrived. Both Jaein and Young-shil snap their heads to the entrance, ready to greet the incoming crowd. Young-shil's face totally changes, her jaw dropping as she spots a familiar face walking in. And who is it? None other than Guardian, flashing a killer smile as he steps inside, leaving Jaein totally bewildered by his unexpected appearance. Right behind him, two other customers are absolutely stunned, probably just as shocked to see Guardian making an appearance. The cafe is absolutely drenched in the golden hour glow, as the sun dips, painting everything in warm, long shadows. The sun's blazing, painting the sky in epic orange and gold, as Oh Young-shil absolutely crushes her morning run. Her feet pounding like thunder on the pavement, a total blur of motion against the waking city. With pure, focused determination on her face, she keeps that insane pace, wind whipping her hair back like a boss. Every single stride is pure purpose, a testament to her absolute discipline. Meanwhile, at the super busy outdoor cafe, everyone's chilling, enjoying the morning vibes, totally oblivious to the low-key drama about to drop inside. Inside, Guardian is just chilling, sitting across from Lee Jaein, his calm vibe totally clashing with her slightly shocked face. He's got this super warm, gentle smile going on, his eyes just radiating quiet understanding. Lee Jaein, though, is still totally lost in thought, her mind racing as she tries to figure out this surprise meeting. And just like that, as the day flies by, that morning energy totally fades into the chill evening vibes. The Café Du is just standing there, super quiet under the night sky, its lights giving off a soft, chill glow. A sign on the door is screaming it loud and clear, this place is officially closed for business. The day's wild events finally settle down, leaving everyone hyped for whatever tomorrow's going to throw at them. Oh Young-shil is absolutely glowing, phone in hand, as a customer's shout-out confirms she's crushing it with her amazing service. Her co-workers are practically bowing, one even clutching their face dramatically, all thanking her for keeping the customers rolling in, no matter the cost. But she just brushes it off with a cool smile, telling them not to sweat it and to just keep up the awesome work. Across the table, Guardian is giving Lee Jae-in the side eye, totally confused why she's there, insisting he just popped in to check up on her, no big deal, nothing shady going on. Jae-in, with a super sweet look, gently cups his cheek, telling him to chill out because she's actually getting used to everything around here. She's practically beaming, announcing her good mood, then, out of nowhere, asks if he wants a drink. But then her face totally changes, and she shuts him down, flat out saying she can't do it. She looks away, her eyes dropping, totally bummed out by the whole thing. Guardian, completely blindsided by her rejection, looks shocked, then asks, "What about me?" His face totally falls into disappointment, as he confesses he's got absolutely nothing going on. They just sit there at the cafe table, the conversation officially over, while other customers just chill and enjoy their night. Night descends, and the cafe's cozy glow lights up the street, signaling the close of another day. Shaking off his previous disappointment, Guardian dives headfirst into the vibrant energy of a packed pub, a place absolutely buzzing with people letting loose and having a blast. But amidst all the chaos, something snags his focus, making him snap his head up, a bewildered, practically exploding from him. Then, a voice cuts through the noise, calling him out for staring and playfully listing off drink options, like, "Dude, what are you even looking at? Soju? Beer? Or maybe a somek, huh?" Across the table from Jae-in, Guardian just shrugs, a little confused, confessing he's never even touched any of those drinks. The vibe between them is just chef's kiss as the conversation flows. Jae-in, with a mischievous wink, totally calls him out, like, "Oh, come on, you just hit legal age, you've definitely tried these, you flirt." Then she leans in, a sly grin on her face, "Just you wait. I'll make you." Guardian's face totally lights up with a mix of surprise and intrigue, as he processes her bold challenge. And just like that, a glass is thrust into his view, with a no-nonsense, "Here." Jae-in's hand pushes the glass closer, her voice a playful dare, "Seriously, just try it out." Guardian grabs the glass, his electric blue eyes totally fixated on the mysterious liquid, a spark of curiosity igniting before he takes a closer look. Then, with a moment of hesitation, he takes a big gulp, the drink going down with a satisfying. Jae-in's eyes are locked on him, a silent challenge in her gaze as she waits for his verdict. The moment of truth arrives as the glass meets his lips. And Lee Jae-in, with a mischievous glint in her eye, presses him for his immediate reaction. But his face immediately twists in disgust, a bitter shockwave hitting him as he exclaims the drink is utterly unpalatable. Jae-in, however, just smirks, playfully asserting that he simply doesn't get it. But the taste is too much. A violent shudder racks his body, forcing a visceral gagging sound from his throat. He fights to regain control, the potent liquid assaulting his unaccustomed palate. Staring at the offending glass with pure bewilderment, he can't help but question the very purpose of such a drink. Jae-in, casually holding a bottle, provides the blunt, undeniable truth, to get drunk, of course. He pauses, genuinely curious, asking if there's any actual benefit to losing control like that, his voice trailing off in contemplation. With a wistful expression, Jae-in reveals her deeper thoughts, confessing that, for her, the world is just too brutal. She elaborates, her gaze distant, on the necessity of forgetting everything just to survive in this relentlessly cruel existence. Yet, with a slight shake of her head, she clarifies that she herself isn't one to seek such oblivion. She takes another sip, the drink swirling in her glass, a silent moment of contemplation. Across the table, he's locked onto her every move, a silent question in his gaze, trying to decipher her thoughts. A beat of silence hangs heavy, leaving him to process her profound statements, as she just keeps drinking, seemingly unfazed by the weight of her own philosophy. She drains the glass, eyes still closed, a subtle shift in her aura, like a switch has been flipped. Suddenly, her eyes snap open, locking onto his with an intense, almost predatory glint, a smirk playing on her lips that promises something more. She leans forward, her voice dropping to a provocative whisper, daring him to get sober. The words hit like a gauntlet thrown, a direct, piercing challenge, demanding he show the real you. His eyes practically pop out of his head, completely blindsided by her sudden, intense declaration, a shockwave of realization hitting him hard. He gazes down at the glass he's holding, the initial shock giving way to deep, unsettling contemplation, her words reverberating through his very core. The golden liquid in his glass seems to mock him, shimmering, a mirror to the chaos brewing inside. A tight shot on the frothy head of the drink, almost as if it's listening, a silent observer to the profound moment unfolding. Still reeling from that bombshell, he's walking with Lee Jian under the city lights. He stares into the mystical night, his face illuminated by an otherworldly glow. Jian, captivated by his reaction, asks if he's feeling it, and he can only manage a soft, yeah. A flush creeps up his neck, a rare moment of pure, unadulterated emotion. Suddenly, a single firefly blazes past, a tiny spark of pure magic. Then, his eye ignites, burning with an electric, almost supernatural blue. Jian can only watch, her eyes wide with disbelief and wonder, as he reaches out, drawn into the spectacle. Her focus is absolute, a small, knowing smile playing on her lips. The awe intensifies, her expression now one of utter, breathtaking enchantment. And then, her eye flares to life, radiating a brilliant, golden energy, a power awakening within her. He turns to her, a silent question in his gaze, "What do you make of this?" The entire atmosphere explodes with shimmering, glowing particles, a cosmic light show. And in an instant, he's engulfed in a blinding, golden aura, his hair turning pure white, his eyes blazing with raw, untamed power, a true awakening. Just as his radiant form was taking shape, a soft, emerald glow burst from Jian's hand, reaching out to him. He then spun around, a burning question on his lips, needing to know if she felt the same electric connection. "Do you like me too, then?" The energy around him exploded, propelling him skyward amidst a dazzling vortex of glowing blue plants, as she gazed up in awe. Her own eyes now blazing with power, she shot back playfully, "Aren't I pretty too?" A brilliant smile lit up Guardian's face, his entire form absolutely glowing with ethereal power. But that joy instantly shattered into an expression of pure shock and agony, a sudden, raw cry tearing from his throat. His face contorted into a horrifying, silent scream, the very light around him twisting with his unbearable anguish. The very night sky seemed to scream with his torment, the full moon bearing witness to a world now consumed by his desperate, echoing cries. Beneath a sprawling, star-studded night sky, a serene landscape unfolds, hinting at a world about to be turned upside down. Then, out of nowhere, a brutal impact slams into Lee Jian, ripping a primal scream from him as chaotic, dark energy explodes all around. The relentless, unseen assault keeps coming, wrenching another desperate shriek from him as those sinister particles swirl. His eyes blow wide with pure shock and confusion, a bewildered escaping him as he tries to grasp this sudden, terrifying nightmare. Consumed by sheer terror, he bolts, his screams ripping through the air as he desperately tries to outrun whatever is chasing him. His feet hammer against the wooden planks, his eyes frantically darting behind him, desperate to spot the monster on his heels. A subtle, eerie glow envelopes him, his face contorted with terror, yet also a strange, almost supernatural awareness. He keeps running, those glowing particles swirling behind him, his head still craned back, unable to shake the feeling of being hunted. A desperate plea rips from him, his voice raw with terror as he screams for whatever is hunting him to just get away. Then, his eyes snap forward, a fresh wave of pure shock hitting him as he realizes a new threat has just materialized right in front of him. Completely bewildered by the sudden appearance, he can only gape, a silent, "What the heck," hanging in the air. He's free-falling, an endless drop as the city lights become a dizzying blur far below. A raw, desperate scream tears from him, the ground hurtling up to meet him at terrifying speed. His electric blue eyes, blown wide with pure terror, mirror the insane velocity of his plunge. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupts, twisting reality itself around him. A crushing, invisible force slams into him, the impact reverberating through the empty air. Still plummeting, he's now engulfed in shimmering blue particles, as another invisible strike rocks him. A raw, guttural scream of pure agony rips from his throat, his body flailing uncontrollably in the void. A brutal impact unleashes shockwaves of blue-green energy, the invisible onslaught escalating to a terrifying degree. His glowing eyes snap even wider, a single, horrifying word screaming in his head. The horrifying truth slams into him, he's up against an unbeatable monster, a foe whose power level is off the charts, and he's about to be wiped out. Then, another devastating, invisible force smashes into him, the impact exploding with raw blue energy. Lee Jian is still caught in an impossible freefall, raw blue energy ripping around him as an unseen entity continues its brutal assault. The world becomes a blur of glowing particles and streaking light, his descent accelerating to terrifying speeds. His hair whips like a storm around him, caught in the violent, crushing currents of his plummet. His eyes, now blazing with an electric blue intensity, reflect the horrifying velocity of his fall, tears ripped from his face by the sheer force. Then, a gut-wrenching realization slams into him, a silent, primal scream of absolute shock. The blue fire in his eyes flares even brighter, reflecting a twisted, distorted image of the world rushing up to claim him. High above, the full moon hangs like a cold, indifferent eye in the star-dusted night sky, a chilling contrast to the nightmare unfolding below. From an unimaginable height, he hurtles towards the earth, a desperate speck against the cosmic canvas, another smaller shadow falling alongside him. The dark, unforgiving canopy of a forest surges upwards, a green, blurring maw promising a devastating impact. His face twists in pure, unadulterated terror, hair thrashing, those luminous blue eyes wide with the rawest form of primal fear. He stares into the abyss, a desperate, wide-eyed gaze locked onto his inescapable fate. A silent, soul-shattering scream tears from his very being, his glowing blue eyes reflecting the absolute, unyielding horror of his impending doom. He's still falling, eyes blazing with that insane blue power, and Li Jian lets out a raw scream as the earth hurtles towards him. His face is a mask of pure, unadulterated fear, and that blue energy from his eyes just explodes, a raw, primal scream against the inevitable crash. Everything's a blur around him, but his glowing eyes are locked onto the ground, getting closer, faster. Then, in one last, terrifying blur, the forest floor becomes a solid, unavoidable target. He slams into the ground with a sickening thud, the impact rattling his bones as he groans, swallowed by a mess of leaves and broken branches. A faint, ghostly blue light pulses from the wreckage, a silent, eerie reminder of the weird power that just saved his skin. Then, he slowly pushes himself up, dazed but somehow totally fine, his clothes a bit ripped but not a scratch on him. He's standing in a field of glowing blue plants, his eyes scanning the bizarre new world around him, a million questions screaming in his head. A massive wave of relief washes over him, his eyes still faintly glowing as he breathes out, "Phew, you scared me." Then, out of nowhere, a voice slices through the quiet, a young woman with huge, teary eyes and freckles on her nose, totally freaked out, asking, "You okay?" High above, the cutting-edge LU facility dominated the skyline, a beacon of scientific mystery and groundbreaking research. But deep within, a massive containment tank pulsed with an ominous green glow, revealing a grotesque, tentacled monstrosity that a scientist chillingly dubbed the newly unveiled Hydra. Its form was utterly alien, a pulsating mass of green tentacles and glowing blue orbs, screaming of its otherworldly origins, a creature ripe for dissection. A male scientist, visibly stressed, voiced his deep concerns, revealing he only had clearance for a single, cat eye, and what if everything went sideways, leaving them with nothing. A female scientist nearby absorbed his words, her face a mask of grim determination, a silent, Kuei Hyung echoing her thoughts. Later, the team, including our two concerned scientists, stood before a crucial presentation, dropping the bombshell that the Hydra was a hybridized species. Their shocking findings were backed by an array of samples, glowing green liquids and bizarre biological components in test tubes, each one a terrifying clue. The male scientist, still plagued by doubt, pressed on, "What if we're wrong about it being a hybrid?" The female scientist, however, delivered a chilling retort, "If these experiments blow up in our faces, we're the ones taking the fall." He turned, conceding her point, but then dropped another bombshell, they'd stumbled upon something even more intriguing. He revealed a small vial of dark liquid, labeled H2SO4, sulfuric acid, a highly volatile substance that explodes with heat on contact with water, hinting at a dangerous new phase in their experiments. The female scientist's eyes snapped wide, her face contorting with alarm as she grasped the terrifying implications of this new, volatile discovery, the danger palpable. Even with the full force of H2SO4, the Hydra was completely immune to the sulfuric acid. A shocking revelation that left the male scientist utterly bewildered, his eyes glued to the monstrous creature floating in its eerie green tank. The grotesque, multi-limbed organism pulsed with an unsettling rhythm, mocking the very notion of its destruction within the toxic green bath. The male scientist's face contorted in a grimace, a clear sign of his mounting frustration and dread. This thing wasn't just surviving, it was thriving, showcasing an insane regenerative ability, a terrifying testament to its unyielding power. He then gestured to his stunned colleague, urging, "All right, now check out the rest of them." A robotic arm, cold and calculating, moved in for a closer inspection, probing the mysterious specimen. And there were more. A whole array of tanks stretched out, each one holding another one of these terrifying, pulsating hydras. The male scientist pressed on, revealing a crucial detail, the creature's entire existence hinged on its reproductive organs. He then posed the mind-bending question, wait, are the reproductive organs actually separate beings? The female scientist, her face a mask of utter confusion, could only admit, right now, we have absolutely no idea. As they grappled with the bizarre implications, the male scientist theorized, what if they're not connected at all, leaving his colleague to gasp, how is that even possible? The male scientist, deep in thought, ponders a new, critical question. One that remains completely unanswered. Oh Young-shil's face shows a flicker of concern, absorbing his words. Elsewhere, within the LU facility, a mysterious mechanism pulses with an intense red glow, surrounded by vibrant green energy. The massive LU building looms, a beacon of cutting-edge, and potentially dangerous, research. Back inside, the scientist drops a bombshell, what if a person actually glowed? Oh Young-shil, clearly skeptical, fires back, asking if he's still reeling from a hangover. But he just laughs it off, then hits her with the ultimate, what if, on the slimmest chance, what if such a being did exist? Her skepticism vanishes, replaced by a chilling realization as she grapples with the sheer power of someone capable of such incredible feats. She pushes the boundary further, envisioning a person with the speed of a dinosaur, who could also emit a powerful glow. Her colleague ups the ante, suggesting someone who could even control other species. Oh, Young-shil's eyes widen in shock, the terrifying scope of such an individual's abilities dawning on her. The weight of their hypothetical discussion hangs in the air, and a male colleague, his expression serious, declares, "That's not just a person, that's a research subject." Young-shil's mind races, her silence speaking volumes, as the terrifying reality of their conversation sinks in. The phrase reverberates, a stark reminder of the stakes, research subject. But the tension breaks as we cut to a new location, the trendy Café Crow Du, a welcome change of pace from the heavy atmosphere. Inside, Young-shil's eyes tell a story of exhaustion and deep thought, the weight of everything still pressing down on her. Meanwhile, Jaein, rocking an apron behind the counter, can't help but shiver, a subtle tremor hinting at something more than just the cold. He glances her way, a silent question hanging between them, while she remains oblivious, her back turned, deep in her own world. The café looks peaceful from the street, his lone figure a blur behind the glass, a brief pause before the next chapter unfolds. The closed sign signals the end of the day, but Young-shil's voice cuts through the silence, shifting the topic to, what about Dawn? Settling in, Jaein casually drops a bombshell, "I think the date went well yesterday," only for Young-shil to cut in, revealing Dawn went too. Her face is a mask, a subtle mix of concern and curiosity, waiting for his next move. His intense blue eyes lock onto hers, and he cuts straight to the chase, "Do you remember what happened yesterday?" He falters, a sudden awkwardness in his expression. His companion smirks, a glint in her eye. He quickly tries to smooth things over. She ponders his statement, a serious look on her face. He presses her, his eyes locked on hers. He tilts his head, a spark of curiosity in his voice. His friend observes him intently, her face etched with worry. Then, a raw, untamed energy explodes around him. His jaw drops. A thought flashes through his mind. His eyes ignite with a fierce, electric blue. And then, as her power explodes, her eyes blaze with an electric blue, Jaein's face contorts in pure shock, a silent scream of realization as her own incredible abilities burst forth.